Happy Labor Day or Happy Labor Day if you're in Canada or somewhere else in the world that may have a similar holiday today. But yeah, guys, so just hung out a little bit today. Looked in some beehives, just not many, just a couple. I have lost another colony, though. That is quite evident. And I'm making some drastic maneuvers. So I want to show y'all something. Let me see if I can pull it up over here and show it to you. Let's see. Maybe I can look at them both. All right. So as you know, Chris came over today, and the Bugman 1966. So I'm going to show you. I'm kind of on the Kool-Aid right now. I'm on the Kool-Aid. So I know it's going to be hard for you guys to see this. Let me see if that's... Oh, wrong way. Crap. Let's go back the other way. All right. So this first one, he brought screen these. He brought one for me to try out. This oil screen board. And you see how many beetles it caught after, I don't know, a couple hours maybe. There's some beetle larvae. Some beetles. This was on a single deep that I pulled I pulled out a Swiffer sheet that was just loaded with beetles. So we went ahead and dropped this under the bottom of it as a test so he could, do the I told you so, which is fine. It's fine because this is like this just now. And it's only been a few hours. Guys, there's beetles all over this thing. And this hadn't even been a half a day. I mean, it's just been a few hours. And there's beetles dropping down in there. So he's got me believing right now. He's got me believing in this bottom board. However, me being me, I found something out here. Hold on. Date Ant. I ordered something. Beetle trap bottom board. I ordered these. So I can convert my existing bottom board with the beetle trap and don't have to replace the whole thing. So I can just buy these, and you can actually get it cheaper if you don't get this trim piece. You need them, but if you got 3/4 stock around or something, or you just want to go get it and cut them to size, it'll allow you to modify your existing solid to the beetle trap. So I bought 15 of these that are going to, I just ordered them, so they obviously haven't been shipped out. And so this is going to be bottom board 2.0 for me. So it gives me a more affordable way to convert my existing bottom boards to beetle trap bottom boards. Oh, nice, James. $310. Good job. So this is what I'm going with at the moment. And then if I expand, I'll probably buy the real deal one. But, with Date Ant, anything over 150 is free shipping. So I got 15 of these set up. So I just have to attach these to my existing bottom boards and slide in the trap with the oil in it, and should be good to go. So we're going to see how that goes. And hopefully it works out. And hopefully they come soon so I can get them on there before too many get wrecked, and maybe I can recover before winter. And and try to make that happen. So again, that's the Beetle. Those bottom boards, knock on wood, are catching some Hive beetles over there. Obviously, the comment or the link is in the chat right up there, pinned to the top. But that is the Band-Aid I'm putting on my bottom board. Since I already have solid bottom boards on everything, that was the workaround. And we'll see if they work around my around my colony. So we're gonna see. Maybe it's another $400 just pissed to the wind. We don't know. But right now, I can't say that that's definitely working. I actually got a photo. Those two photos I just brought up on the screen are on my community tab, so you can click on those and download them. So today is the holiday. I know you guys are. Before I got 50 emails and texts, I was like, "Look at Todd. Todd's out on the tundra with the storm, Merca in the background too."
Yeah, that's Flag Barn. It's up the road, just a couple miles from here.
Now that's not the current situation, is it?
No. Someone took that picture a couple years ago when we had a big storm roll through, and that was a pretty cool picture. So I saved it.
Yeah, I like that sheet lightning that comes across the clouds like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it happens a lot over the ocean, right?
Yep. Yeah.
The did you see any of what I was just sharing?
No, I just jumped on, so I don't know what you were.
So I will share it again because I know some people are coming in right now. But so Chris, Bugman 1966, you know, he's always singing about the little oil beetle trap bottom boards, right?
Yeah.
And I keep saying, well, they're just too expensive, right? Well, they are still too expensive. However, he brought one, and I put it on a single deep colony. We popped open the top, and the Swiffer sheet had tons of beetles just stuck on it, right? And so let me see if I can open this photo back up over here. There we go. And now I'll share it so you can see it. So this, I'll even zoom it in a little bit. I don't know why that's blinking. There we go. I don't know what that's about. What's going on?
Ooh.
All right, let me remove that and try it again. Stop screen, present screen, share screen, entire screen, this screen, share. Now I edit the stream. All right, so this is after maybe an hour of being on this single deep that it's sitting on right now. And let me zoom it up so you can kind of see that this was entirely clean when we started. Just oiled it with some baby oil, right? Unscented baby oil. And there's a couple bees, so I don't know how the bees got in there, but there's definitely some beetles, right?
Yeah.
And this is like, you see it's darker just now. So, I mean, this thing is, beetles are getting, I mean, it's only been a few hours. Wow. And it's catching a ton of them. But my thing was still that it was too much. So Dadant has these. I've got a solid bottom board, right? All my colonies got solid bottom boards. But they sell this shim, the tray, and the screen that you set on top of your regular bottom board.
Yeah.
And it converts it to that beetle trap. So the tray goes on there, and this sits inside the tray here. And then you lift your box up by 3/4. So they walk up the front, they go across the screen, and then up into the colony. And the bee space is still maintained. So as a workaround, I ordered these. Now I do have to attach the trim down to my bottom boards.
Yeah.
But I ordered 15 of these for $400 as compared to 10 or, 10 or so of the other one. So,
so how deep is the tray?
It doesn't even have to be that deep. It's just, I mean, a cookie sheet is deep enough if it's got oil in it. As long as they fall in that oil, they're done. They can't walk up the metal sides because it's too slick for them. And they just dehydrate or drowned in the oil down there. And it didn't have that much oil in it. And so what I did is that hive was actually leaning forward a little bit. So I actually lifted it up and put a piece of wood under it just now to try to even that oil out to see if that helps any. And
how deep is that oil?
I mean, it's not even from my tip to my fingernail right there. I mean,
it's kind of like a film,
just a real thin sheet of it. It wasn't much at all. And yeah, I know. Here's the thing. Oh, did Todd cut out, or am I cutting in and out? That's always a question to ask nowadays. Let me stop the screen share. There's Charlie. Hey, Charlie. Todd might have blanked out on us there, but
he cut in. He popped.
Oh, he cut out. He'll be right back. He said, so I'm just gonna remove him from here, and then he can come back. And so yeah, I ordered those as a conversion for what I already have. Do I end up spending the same amount that between the bottom board and the conversion kit? Yeah. It's the same as I would pay for one of the Beetle traps. But I already have the bottom boards, right? So now I'm just converting my existing bottom boards for hive beetles. And, nothing but Beetle glue and some staples, tack it down, good to go.
So you can fix it permanently.
Yeah, so
I would say that shim is wood, right?
I'm sure it is, yeah.
Well, I just take and drill some holes, some pilot holes, and put some wood screws in there and put it,
Yeah, so you can just buy this piece and this piece as like replacements, because this screen, I don't know if I can blow that up any, because that's really just a graphic there. But this piece actually sits down on a ledge in this tray here in the black tray. The screen sits down in there, and then it sits down in the bottom board.
Yeah, because there's a thing in the center that supports that screen.
Yeah, so this right here is the landing board. So they land on that, and then they walk up here to get in, and the shim holds the box up higher. So you're just making an insert in there, right? So if you got 3/4 inch wood, you can get it for $18 and something, $18.95 for just the trap and the screen, and then you just have to have 3/4 stock all the way around.
That's easy. Just
yep. I mean, easy enough.
Take a board and rip it.
And
go to the dollar store and buy a ton of cookie sheets, and then 1/8 inch hardware cloth over top of that, and you're in business.
Yep. And I mean, the only thing is you got to have room for them to get in, right? So the way this is designed, this pull handle is actually their landing board. And then they walk up here, and when they come in, they're crossing the screen, but they can go straight up into the colony. So this was just a workaround for that. And it's also the cheapest version that I've seen to convert what you already have instead of having to replace everything you've already got. Now you're just adjusting what you've already got, right? And then if you decide to go the other way in the future, then you can just buy the other ones as you grow instead of buying this one. So I just, and I bought 15 of them. So,
see how they work.
Well, the one he brought is catching beetles. He brought me one. He's like, here, let's put this on there. And sure is catching a ton of beetles under there. And so the problem with anything right now is just the price. I mean, and then the shipping, right? So that was another reason I went with Dadant, because even if you buy the bottom board, anything over $150 is free shipping. So you might as well just order you 3 or 4 of them at a time, get the free shipping, get them coming in, right? would those small feeding shims work? I don't know. And, you know, I'm just looking at a graphic here. So who knows what comes? It might be totally wonky. And, you know, I know they make them for eight frames. But I even told them, I said, heck, if I leave it on here a couple days and wipe a lot of the beetles out of here, then I could put the regular bottom board on and move the whole bottom to the next colony, right? But it would just take a long time to do that. But just eliminate as many as we can. Yeah, you could put diatomaceous earth in it as well, I guess. You could use that.
But I mean, Chris he's been quite successful too, right?
And so has Brian C. He did the Freeman board one, right? And you can actually buy those trays. So if you've got a bottom board that's got a slot for like a Varroa, you know, one of them Varroa sheets, you probably could just slide that right in there, as long as it's just not a single slot to slide in. So that's I don't know. We're gonna try it. I mean, all it can do is fail, and it's already failing. I mean,
you got screen bottom boards, right?
No, mine are all solid. I've got a couple screen, but the only reason I have those screen bottom boards is because I bought some used equipment from somebody when I first started, and they had screen bottom boards. But with these things, you know, you can buy it for the tray and the screen for $20. Yeah, but you got to have the 3/4 stock, which is really cheap. 3/4 by 3/4 at the store. You can probably get a 12-foot stick of it pretty cheap, a couple bucks, maybe $2-3. But then you got to cut it and measure, you know, then it's just
Don't you have a chop saw?
I don't have a chop saw. I've got table saw, I've got a circular saw, I've got grinder, I've got everything but a
well, just take and put it across the table saw with a T-square, you're done.
But you know, time is money, man. Time is money. I can put glue in staples. Glue. Done. Put it together. Next. I can do all 15 of them in an hour. Probably less. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Daydant's usually a pretty reputable company. So, the only thing that I've heard negative about them on their reviews is that they have that black plastic sometimes cracks over time. So, which is probably why they sell a replacement for $18. You know, but yeah, well, Bob, hey, believe it or not, Bob can do a lot of stuff. Bob just chooses not to do a lot of stuff.
That's like I had a nuke bottom board, and I found it in my supply shed, and the back end where I drilled the hole in there, you know, where you put the vaporizer through it in the back, and it was rotten, and I just took a hammer and knocked it off, and I, you know, made a stick of wood, and it's 3/4 inch square, and put it in there, and I screwed it in instead of stapled. And
I'm gonna tell you the funniest thing today. I took one sting all day out in the bee yard. One sting with no suit, no nothing. Chris came over, took 5 stings, took 2 to his hand. Like he took 1 to his ear, 1 to his underneath his eye right there.
Don't you have a veil?
Well, the funny thing was the last one he got, we were on the whole other side of the house by the back door sitting on the tailgate. And there was one around my head. And I don't swat or anything, right? I just, like, I know it's my glasses they're attracted to when they get dark, like sunglasses. So I just tilt my head down, and it left right for me and went zap right on his eye. I mean, he couldn't even see it coming. It came so fast. And then we had a Middle Eastern guy stop to buy some honey. And, you know, we walked to my truck, and I showed him the quart. I showed him the pints. I showed him the squeeze bottle. And I told him it's all by weight. So $30 for the big one, $15 for the pint, and $10, right? I showed him the prices. And then he goes, "Oh, I'll get 2 of those, the pints. Can I get a discount for getting multiple?" No, you can't, right? Because you can buy the same amount in 1 jar. There's no need for me to discount because you bought 2 in smaller jars. And he said, and he carried them and he set them down on the Pro Nuke and he was looking at the bees, taking some pictures for his friends. And he said, he said, "You only take cash, right?" I said, "Yep." He said, "Where's the nearest ATM?" I said, "Right down the street. You go straight down the street. There's a grocery store and there's an ATM right there." He said, "Okay, I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna come right back." So me and Chris sat on the tailgate for 30, 45 minutes just talking, and he never showed back up. Probably, I don't know if it's because I wouldn't give him a discount or what, but we're not in the discounting business. We're not Dollar General. You know.
Hey, Tim.
Tim,
Say, gentlemen.
Looky
what's going
here.
on, man? You enjoying your holiday?
Yes, sir. It's been a good one. How about y'all?
Yeah, just having a good old time, man.
All right, now tell me about this Beetle contraption. You got my attention.
All right, so you know, I never was not a believer. My thing was that in scale it was too expensive, like for me to replace all my bottom boards. So it turns out Dadant has a workaround for your solid bottom boards. And you're a woodworker anyway, so if you can get some 3/4 by 3/4 wood,
Rip it off a board, you know.
or rip it off a board, or whatever you want to do, right?
That's how you do it. Just rip it off.
And
There
I'm
it
gonna
is.
show you,
Bunch of
it's
those.
pretty simple looking. It's right here. So you get this piece, right? That's a tray, and it's got a screen piece that sits in here, and all of that sits right on the tall side of your bottom board. And then you have to lift your hive up, right? Because this is going to come to the bottom of the hive. So you have to lift your hive up so it gives them space to get in. So you can get this piece and this piece for $18.95. But they charge you $8 more for pre-cut shims. So you just attach this to this and slide this tray in and set the whole hive back on top of it. And, you know, put your oil or whatever you're going to put in here to capture.
This is Dadant.
That's that Dadant, yeah.
So now the tray fits on your bottom board, and then you can pull it in and out underneath of that shim, right?
Correct. Yep. And it's eligible for free shipping. So if you order enough for over $150, it's free shipping. So, I mean, let me see if I can go back one here on my screen. So see, $18.95, you get just the tray in this.
Hey.
But they have it in an 8-frame variety if you're 8-frame guy, or you can buy the whole thing. But it's $41.95 to replace it, right? But I already have bottom boards on all my colonies, so the cheaper way for me to retrofit is this kit to do it.
Yeah, that'd be the cheapest way for us too right now.
You can make the
I gotta
sticks.
look into that.
You can make that for 50 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got plenty of 1x laid around. I can rip the 3/4. You know.
I would think you could. Well, I don't know how wide a cookie sheet would be.
Well, I had like an industrial cookie sheet out there, and it was not wide enough to fit across. But you could probably shim that up, right? Underneath, put a couple pieces of wood this way, one underneath the edge, slide it right in.
Or if you got a buddy that's in HVAC, he might be able to
bend some metal for you.
Yeah, make a few for you.
So the only thing that depressed me is they didn't have a 5-frame version of that. If they did, then I could have hooked up all my nukes like that too. So, but yeah, so that was the cheapest workaround for me, this piece right here. So for $20, Tim, if you've got the wood, $20, you know, if you order 12 of them, I don't know how many colonies you're running right now, but if you had 12 of them, that would give you the free shipping, and that would work it out for you.
We're down to just the 4 right now, but 2 of them are in Langstroth and the other 2 are in the horizontals out there. But now we got 6 or 8 we can put together, no problem. But I talked to Hannah, and we'll probably at least get, I don't know, the 2 minimal for what we got left out there right now. We come in kind of at the last minute. You were showing that picture to Todd, but you said an hour or so you had a bunch of them already dropped in there.
Can you see that, or is it sure?
I see.
All right, so this was after about an hour.
Now that looks like a tin shim to me.
This one is. Yeah. See, he brought me the whole bottom board that had the slide-in tray. And then I started looking around, and I can get those other kits to retrofit all of my solid bottom boards. So I don't have to spend $40 a bottom board plus shipping to get them there, right? So that was the workaround. So this is after about an hour or so, and this was right before the stream.
Okay.
And I mean, it is catching beetles and everything else. And this was perfectly clean when he brought it. I mean, it was cleaned off. So all this crap in here is from my colonies right now. And I've got Apivar on there, so you'll probably see some mites and stuff dropping down in here, you know. But it's, I mean, beetle larva, right? Beetle larva. So, I mean, it's just, they work pretty good.
All right, now here's one deal. I don't know if anybody may know. On the beetle larvae, does the oil, whatever oil you're using,
it'll kill
them. Know if it'll kill them too?
Not only will it kill them, but they can't get down to the ground to reproduce. And I'm sure that metal pan right there heats up pretty good when it gets hot outside. Probably cook them. But I know that the larvae on there were, I mean, you will see a crawling one that maybe had just dropped, but all the other ones were dead on there.
Okay.
So
when we was trying to clean frames up instead of losing so much one of the last times, buddy, I did.
Larva, take it straight. I put it in a garbage bag and throw the whole garbage bag with the frame and everything right in the freezer.
I got 20 frames in my buddy's chest freezer now. Got to go. We'll probably go pick them up tomorrow. But one of the last runs we did, we didn't have time in between everything going on to take and do all that. So I figured, well, bleach will probably kill them. No, they just crawled around in it. I mean, it didn't do nothing to them.
Bleach didn't kill them?
Sure didn't.
Yeah,
no, sir.
I'm surprised with that.
I know. And the bleach that we had just some old household bleach you could get from, the dollar store or something like that. But I had some higher bleach that ain't been cut that we get from the paint store to power wash. And I hit them with that stuff we got from the paint store. And, buddy, like I said, that it didn't kill them. They just crawled around on it just as you was just giving them a bath, like the best way to explain it.
So this right here, so I get that about putting more heat into the colony. However, these can regulate the temperature. They can't regulate the hive beetles.
That's not an issue.
So,
well, it's on the bottom too. You know what I mean? That little bit, that thin of a tin, I don't think really gonna make a huge difference.
It's going to be in the shade.
Not direct sunlight either, so
it's going to be in the shade. And you're going to get that out.
I'll tell you what, my Swiffer sheets are all, they're all hive beetled up, and then they start propolising and they start chewing it to carry it out, right? And you just got to keep changing Swiffer sheets as well. So my thing is, if I can get these in, even if I put that in a new box on that bottom board, right, like one of my new ones, and bang the bees and beetles down a lot of the beetles will automatically through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, you know, my thing is if I've got to get rid of the beetles so they will start to grow again. And
Yes.
otherwise they're just going to die. I mean, it's pretty pathetic right now out there. Pretty pathetic, the amount of beetles. And
Now we at the little church gathering. Now there's a gentleman that comes down. He's where they live at. It's probably about an hour or so from us, but he was talking about how his daddy raised and kept bees back. I'm assuming 50s, 60s, 70s, and he said once the hive beetles really kind of started coming in, what, mid 80s, 86, around that, whenever he had to take and basically start getting out of it because he couldn't keep up with them up there. And he was asking, do y'all have them problems, Tim, that Daddy had, and so on and so forth? And was like, brother, do we ever have them problems? So when I heard you chirping about that, I was like, well, hey, maybe we on to something.
well, yeah, we're gonna, anything that can knock them down, I'm proponent for. I mean, I've tried Swiffers, the beetle jails. Matter of fact, that colony had a beetle jail in the bottom. If you watch the live video where he pried it off of there, and they had propolised the whole thing up. It had one beetle in it,
Yeah.
So there's another thing I saw. Somebody was at Sam's Club in Texas. They have a whole hive single deep kit for $70. I haven't seen it at my store, but I've seen it over. Well, I see it on the Book of Faces. Somebody had it at Sam's Club, so you might be able to order from Sam's Club online for $70 for a single deep bottom board, inner cover. Hell, it's even got a smoker with it. All you got to do is add 5 deep frames of brood.
You have to be a member to order on the internet.
Yeah, I think so, from Sam's. I don't know if they have it on. Let's see, Sam's Club official site. Hive. I don't know if it's online or not. They give me everything but beehives. And it's already assembled and painted. I don't see it online. Beehive kit. Nope. Maybe it's just at that one Sam's Club. I don't know. I don't know who makes it, but anyway, that's the yeah, I see it. It's bad down here this year. If you're having it like I'm having it, it's bad. Matter of fact, I opened the nuke that I killed like 30 small hive beetles in yesterday on the lid, and I opened that and showed Chris, and there was beetles all over it again. And I don't have any way to do anything with the nuke. The only thing I can do is put them in a 10 frame box and let all the beetles fall through a screen board like that, and but then it's way too much space for them, right? So it's, but I don't think
I'll run through like we do. Have to hit them with the vacuum, frame by frame. I mean, that's oftentimes how we have to do it to keep up with them.
Now, what happens to them when they get in the vacuum cleaner?
Now, I guess while they spinning around, because it's only like a little 1 gallon shot vac.
Beating the crap out of them?
Yeah, it's beating them to death in there. Now I put a little bit of dish soap and water in there, maybe, I don't know, 1 inch or 2 deep.
And
but
then they hit that and die out.
Yeah, it purees them and holds them down in that dish water.
Never seen small hive beetles, and hope you don't ever see them.
Ain't that true? I wouldn't wish it on nobody.
You got beetles where you're at out there?
I see them on the ground every once in a while, but I have yet to see one in the hive. This year, about 3 years ago, I opened up a lid and I saw one run across the top of a frame, and that's it.
So Stuffy dropped the link there for that hive kit. Let me see. Yeah, his had it. It's a new bee painted 10 frame kit. Shipping not available, pickup not available, delivery not available. Well, what the hell are you good for then?
So how do you get it?
I guess only if they have them in the store.
Well, I'm going to jump off. I pulled, probably over 200 pounds of honey. I've got like 30 frames to go through, and I might as well start. I don't think I'll get them done tonight, but I'll start. But I use the old honey rustler.
Did it work?
Yep. I made some whatchamacallits, homemade fume boards, and sprayed a bunch of that on there, put it right over the hive, let it sit for, I don't know. The first one I did, I let it sit for 5 minutes. There was still a couple up there. So I put it back down, or I sprayed a couple times on it, put it back down, and let it go for another 5 minutes. They were gone. So then the other, I only made 3 boards. So the other 2 I let sit on there for like 10, 12, 15 minutes maybe, and they were gone, empty.
I'll tell you what, this is the first year I've got 3 bee escapes. It's the first time I've really used them, right? I put them on and then not really let them sit there for a day or two, right? But then I tell you what, I put them on there this year. I've got the Saracel ones, and I put them on, no problem. Go back, take the box off. The only problem is if there's hive beetles in those boxes when you pull, and they're sitting there unattended, then you could have problems. So
I put a short out a couple hours ago, maybe an hour ago, about a June bug. I pulled a bee escape off, and there was Mr. June bug. So that's floating out there, just on the internet, the interwebs. Whatever.
You know how you know you're from the country? When you go to your granddad's funeral and your uncle ties a string to the leg of a June bug and lets it fly around in the air.
Yeah, we used to do that as kids when we went to Missouri. We'd do that all the time. That and fireflies.
Firefly, yeah, we used to catch those in the jar with the little holes poked in the top.
Yep, we did that all the time. We don't have fireflies out here, so.
Really?
You're talking about lightning bugs?
Lightning bugs, yeah.
Up north, they're called lightning bugs. Down here, they're called fireflies.
Yeah, California doesn't have those.
Oh man, you missing out on something pretty. They all around back here.
Oh, I know. Well, when I was back in Missouri for 5 years, the kids used to go out in the evenings and chase them. It was fun.
See,
watching.
Me and my cousins used to go to the creek. You know what that is up north, right? The creek.
Yeah.
And we could catch salamanders and crawfish in the creek. And we'd put them in there, and we already knew who was going to win, but we had to have a fight to the death if one of them was going to get dead, right? So it was always the salamander. It never won. Weak ass salamanders. But, and the funny thing is, I don't know if it's a big difference, but like I would go to my granddad's and you go out he'd have a tobacco shed and he'd have tobacco leaves hanging and drying out in the barn, and then you go to his other little building. It's got like squirrel tails all nailed up all over, like kill stripes on a plane, right? He's got squirrel tails all over his shed. And the funny thing is, we were up there one time, and he had a horse, and the horse was getting old, and it didn't walk very well anymore. And so my dad said, well, if we take him across that bridge, it's probably going to hurt him more than it's going to help him. So my dad's trying to lead him down across the creek, and my dad goes down through the creek, and the horse walks across the bridge to get to the other side. So a stream and a creek are two different things, right? For sure.
Well, I'll be listening. Maybe I'll jump on, depending on how long you are.
Well, you know how we do. It's only 7. We're an hour early. We're trying to break records tonight. Well, maybe not.
All right. Well, I'll jump on later then.
All right. We'll see you in a little while.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye.
Take it easy, Todd.
All right. See you, Tim. See you, Charlie.
Yep.
But once I get those bottom boards on, and give them a day or so, I won't feel bad about putting feed inside the colony, because they are really killing the feed here. I mean, it's pretty amazing. That's why when Chris came up here, I said, "Hey, let's put some feed on," and man, there was bees like a cloud in the sky. You would think the whole yard was swarming, and they're just going straight back and forth to that tote. It's pretty amazing. Board beekeepers about normal. Yep, for sure. So you guys do anything in the bee yard today?
I didn't.
No.
I did all that yesterday.
I did some weed eating. I did some bush trimming. And then Chris came, and then we messed around all day. So my work was done. I went inside to cool off for a minute and get a drink, and he's like, the phone rang. He's like, "Where you at?" So I'm inside. "Where you at?" "In your driveway." "All right, I'll be out in a minute." And that was it. We were outside the rest of the day. That's why I got sun on my forehead and just messed around all day long.
We had good intentions. We was going to pick up them 2 supers out of my buddy Deep Freeze, but by the time we got done with everything we had going on today, it was like, we'll just get it tomorrow.
What the heck? Jeremy caught 3 swarms today. Were they your swarms? Mine, this time of year, mine decide they want to get swarmy sometimes. Well, I don't think it's swarmy. I think it's abscondy because of the beetles, right? I don't think they're actually swarming because they don't have enough space. They're swarming because the beetles are just crushing them.
Now, we got a little old swarm that's been, I don't know if it's from the one that absconded about 2 weeks ago, because they had left. But I'm going to say probably the last 3 or 4 days, there's been a good little old, I'll say maybe almost the size of a volleyball, if you will, up in an oak tree. But they've been sitting idle. I don't know if they're going to come down or if they just going to post up there until wintertime. They just too high to get up there and get them.
Yeah, I think I had one yesterday, and it was way up there. Matter of fact, I never saw the swarm. I just saw bees up in the trees kind of flying around. I'm like, yeah, there's a swarm up there, but you could put spacers in a 10-frame box and then put your 5-frame nuke in it. Yeah, I've got some deeps out there somewhere that have the slots in them, but I don't have the boards cut to the dimensions to slide in there. Dropping patties and filling pails. And that's another thing, if these bottom boards work real good, that I might be able to do, put some patty on. So that's what we're going to hope for. We're going to hope for that. Let me see. My mentor's house stream. Letting me catch them all. He just lets them swarm and then requeens at this time of year. Swarm to requeen. In some places you can do that. And I haven't been really I mean, if it's a low hanging bush, I'll go and try to catch the swarm. But what I find is if they swarmed and I put them in a box, they typically don't stay in the box. Even if I leave them in there for a couple of days, so that's their place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they just still seem to want to take off. But this last one, I closed them in and I threw a feeder jar on them. And by the time they were done with that quart jar, then I opened it up and they seemed like they were right at home then. They're like, oh, free food, we're good, we're here. And Chris was amazed that he said when he drove, he had to go the back road, so he went through the country and he saw all the stuff blooming through the country getting here. He said, but as soon as we got up to where you're at, nothing around here. And I was like, yep, that's it. That's what I'm fighting. Nothing blooming. Charlie, what are you thinking about, Charlie?
I was reading Jerome's thing about pear trees or something. Now, I don't know. I've been nursing these young queens along. They're building up, and I put some pollen patties on here yesterday, and I fed them some Pro Sweet.
Now, I saw Pro Sweet for sale, and it was 2.5 gallons of Pro Sweet. Was like $70.
That's just ridiculous.
So I understand you like it, and if you got it, use it. But it's cheaper to leave the honey on there.
Mm-hmm. I only use it when I'm nursing like
A small
2-frame mating nukes and stuff like that, because I got all that amongst the rest of those big hives. Other than that, that's it. Ian found 3 mites. Well, that's good, Ian.
all afternoon and found 3 out of all of his colonies. That's real good. Are you using Apivar OA or?
He's dropping Apple. I think he dropped Apivar in, but he also has. I think he's got from the British Columbia bees. I think they were VHS. I'm not sure on that.
VSH. VHS is video cassette. VSH is Varroa sensitive hygienic.
Varroa sensitive hygienic.
I was looking at that speaker behind your head over there. Does it say realistic on the bottom of it?
Technics.
Okay. I was going to say, man, that's an old speaker if you got it from Radio Shack.
Man, this old stereo system, these folks, it's the old school. Somebody gave it to us, one of our customers. They were getting a new sound system and all that. I don't know, not too long ago, and they said, we're just going to throw it away. I said, well, does that rascal work? So, yeah, it works. We just updating, but it's the older, y'all know what I'm talking about. It's got the cassette, the equalizer,
Everything.
The turntable, the whole everything on that rascal, but it takes up, a third of the wall because it's so big. But, hey, that joker is still jam out now. I give it to them. It was an older couple. They didn't party with it, so it still got some good sound to it.
You see Brad? He says he's got beta bees, not VHS. Beta cassettes, remember those? Little smaller Beta Max video. Always a jokester. He said he's going to come on after he's done eating. You see. In the same city as Bruce's bees, so I can get away with a lot down here. Yeah, and well, Ed's not far from you either, right? Son of one.
I think he said about the way the crow flies, about 4 or 5 miles maybe from Bruce.
Bruce has a lot of beetle problems. He's got them, what is it, the Dixie sheets or something like that? He buys.
Yeah, he buys like some heavy duty.
Pretty big roll of them and puts them where they lap over the ends of the box.
Now, I don't know how those guys can fight the beetles on the pallet system like he's using. With other than like that, Swiffer sheets or oil traps or something like that.
Now, that video I watched Bruce put out, y'all probably seen it too, but them Dixie napkins he was using seemed to be pretty helpful for him.
Well, I mean, even the Swiffer sheets, they work well for about a week, and then you got to replace them every week.
And I noticed you talking about them Dixie sheets, Man Lake packages, Swiffer sheets, or whatever you want to call them.
Beetle Gons.
The Beetle Gons, if it's their Dixie.
And they're 47 of them to a pack or something like that.
Yeah, quite pricey too.
We tried the Swiffers, but I mean, they work, don't get me wrong, but I just wasn't a big fan of all the bees getting jumbled up in it as well, kind of thing. And
I've been lucky so far. I've only had a couple bees caught. Mainly a lot of beetles, though. A lot of beetles getting caught. I just had a message from somebody asking me about a bee suit. Is it a good one? Should I buy it? I don't know. I mean, what do you want? I mean, you've only been keeping bees for 5 years. You know what YouTube's all about,
And thinking of it, before we get too far off the beetle subject, you get home tomorrow, and if you happen to check that tray, shoot me a text, a picture of.
Oh, I'm going to check it tomorrow. It's like on the thing to do. And that's just a single deep. Some of my bigger colonies, I should have tried it on that. But, Brian C., have you seen his video? Brian C.'s video on it? On the Freeman bottom board? Let me show you this craziness if I can find it. I showed it one other time on a stream. And let me see. Where's he at?
Yeah, with the Stone River, yeah, they've been talking about grub X and stuff. That's for the larvae.
That's once they get to the ground. But the problem is when they're in the hive, they already are doing the damage.
Yeah, that's what we got the other day. We got to stop them before they get in there.
All right, so let me.
I think it's a combination of all of it. Do the ground, do the traps.
All right, so I'm gonna show Brian C's video here, and this is another bottom board. Let me unmute this so it'll actually play this. Share screen, entire screen. Make sure I share the audio. And I'll add that to the stream and I'll blow it up so everybody can see. And this is another brand here
that I use. They're available from Heartwood, which is eatheartwood.com, eatheartwood.com. They have a number 8 mesh here, so if there's any small hive beetles or anything, and it's like the full size of the box, so it goes through here, it falls right down to that oil tray. They have 2 models. This is the ventilated one, which is taller, and what they've done is they integrated vents in the front.
But that's something you could build, Tim.
But that still allows the
just looking at
to function as it needs to. The mites will fall right into there. Small hive beetles will fall in there. You'll be able to see if there's any larvae that are falling in there. This is made out of cypress. When I purchased this, they're between $50 and $55, depending on if you get a ventilator or not. It's cypress, so it'll last a really long time. And it comes with a tray. If you're really handy, you can probably buy the tray. I think the trays are $15. But if your hive's not perfectly level, these little ripples here sort of allow the oil to stay without running all the way down to one side. Now, this is a patent pending, and this is from Heartwood. This is the website where you can get this. So you can buy it directly from them. I think some other folks make a metal one, but it does not work nearly as well as this from what I've seen. Again, this tray goes in. As the tray goes in, it completely latches in. So there's actually a little slot right there that it drops into. And then your hive will sit on these extra cleats that run across the bottom. Now, the only negative thing that I can say about it is the screen on the front and the back is also, I believe it's called number 8, which is 1/8, which means bees can't get through it. Small hive beetles can. So if small hive beetles they could try to come in through here, and if they can crawl up, they can crawl up to here. Now, hopefully the bees will harass them enough that they'll push them back down to that oil, but there's a little spot there. Now, the ones that aren't ventilated don't have that issue at all, but I prefer to have a ventilated one since we're in a pretty hot area. The landing boards are a little different, so they're flat here and they have a little angle, so your entrance reducer will work, but some other attachments like pollen traps and stuff may not work the same as with other hives. Also, robbing screens that are made to sit into the notch, they may not work very well on this setup. But the amount of hive beetles that these things catch, and it also allows me to do mite counts without having
some
to
like 1x3 and 1x2.
Kill bees doing alcohol mite wash. I really like it, and I can do my mite checks anytime that I want to just replace the oil. But if you have a lot of small hive beetles, I highly recommend this. It's very passive. And it's called a Freeman bottom board. This is hive 4. Quite a bit of small hive beetles. Go ahead and press them out there. And this is the side where the entrance is. So they're getting them in and they're pushing them down pretty quickly. These are the corners. So there's 439 small hive beetles in this after 3 days. There are 200 mites, which is the 67 mites per day average. Sometimes the bees treated as well. 467, 439 small hive beetles.
I'm just thinking now, instead of doing all them cuts for that tray to sit in, you build them out of 1x, you got 3.5 inches, you can get you a small little pan, build you some cleats for that rascal to sit on, then put your screen right over the top of that. Then you can fur it out or put your shim, whatever you want to call it, shim it up. Same size as your entrance there.
Yep.
Quick, easy redneck way, I guess is where I'm going with it. Now, it's all nice and pretty, and he's got him a cool setup going on there, but what that dude's got going on is like an everyday occurrence for what you would see down here. No problem.
Yeah, and you can buy just that insert. You don't have to buy the whole bottom board. You can just buy the insert. But I mean, they're $13 a piece, so 10 of them is $130, right? So, but it's definitely something that you guys that like to build stuff can do.
Those inserts are just $13?
$13.
Okay. Yeah, that wouldn't be no problem, man. I could build them puppies. Geez, I'm talking about nice and tight, where that tray would just sit right down on a cleat.
Well, that thing, you could just slide it right in, right? Just put a little couple nailer boards in there and just slide it right in, probably.
Yeah. You muted, Charlie.
I say put some cleats around, make a box and then put a cleat around it. And then you got your hardware cloth. And then put your 3/4 inch rim around it.
And yeah, I mean, that's
now the only thing he was saying about is the beetle going to fly in underneath that thing and try to go up?
He bought the ventilated ones. He said the only thing they wish they would change is put a smaller screen on the ventilation so the beetles couldn't come through that thing. But then again, if the bees knock them down or they fall off the frame, they're going to fall through the bottom, right?
Well, the only thing that old Duck River, I watched a little bit of his video. he had one where the bees would kind of crawl down and get inside that and drown. Where he said that the other version, either a coon came along and pulled it out trying to get in, or the other version was tight and he could slide it in from the rear end and it didn't have the bee problems.
Well, I had about 4 bees in my bottom when I pulled that off out there a while ago. So it's but 4 bees or a few bees compared to a whole colony, you know, I'll take those numbers, you know, because my colonies are just crashing due to beetles.
That's what got us, because I sat down and done the numbers of what we've lost this year, and just bees, not counting. Granted, we didn't have any kind of flow, so I can't really base it off a honey flow this year. But if we went back to last year, then absolutely we could have. But just what we've lost in colonies, man, it'd be way cheaper to either buy the whole kit and caboodle or take and build something like we jawing about. You know, just build a simple little box, raise it up a little bit so they can go in and out, and just set any kind of tray in there sitting on a cleat and let them fall in through a screen like that. So that's really put the burr in my saddle to take and, I guess, go this route and try these things and see. But from what Brian had going on, I'm gonna say it works pretty doggone good.
Well, and that's what Chris does too. He don't see any beetles in his colony. Like, he don't see them walking around the frames and stuff like that. He'll see them in that trap, but so when they come in, the bees take them down, and then they, you know, unlike regular bottom board, right, where they can just run wherever they want, they can't do it. They'll fall through. So,
So, hey Bob, who did you say made that modified one?
Date ant.
Okay.
Now I'm on the Heartwood website where you buy that, and they have 5 frame plastic trays for beetle traps, for nuke boxes, and then 10 frame, but they're the same price.
Yeah, they're the same.
13 or $13 a piece.
But I mean, if it's catching them like that, I mean, down here, I don't think you can afford not to have them. I mean, I'd just the number of colonies I've lost over 5 years to hive beetles. I would have saved. I mean, I would have gained that money, right?
Lord, yeah.
And that's the thing. Hey, I'm gonna grab a drink, guys. Chat amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
We'll do it.
All right.
Yeah, it's $50. They want $49.95 for that thing. And I don't know. I wonder if I can share this.
I'm still trying to find that first one Bob showed.
Go to HEARTH wood.com.
That's where
they sell them.
It's not on.
This one here, I'll put it in the comments.
Date ants is beetle bottom board, beetle trap bottom board. If you search that, it'll come up.
Okay.
So I've been buying the kit.
Can you send it to Bob, Charlie?
Oh, I've been to Heartwood, where
I was trying to bring up the different pictures of it so Tim could look at it, or maybe
it's Heartwood, right?
Yeah.
I actually sent them a thing here, but they sell bunches of stuff, right?
Yeah, it's not on Data. Data doesn't have it on their regular site, do they? Or do they?
Yeah, that's where I ordered 15 of them earlier today.
I wonder why I'm not seeing it.
Did you do a beetle bottom board or?
Yeah, let me look at that. Let me do that in their search.
Tire screen.
Yeah, all that is a 1x3, Tim.
Let me see if I can.
You got a 1x3, and then you got screen on top, and then you got a 3/4 by 3/4 strip on top of that. He's got a couple feet on the bottom, which you don't. I wouldn't. Well, you got to have that, I guess, to keep it from spreading.
All you need is well, I say all you need, but I'm not the construction guy, so you're probably listening to the wrong dude.
Well, those inserts would be good. I like that they got, if you want to call it terrace or baffle, however you want to call it, but
Yeah,
because
so
everything,
it keeps the oil in it.
yeah, everything I've got sitting up on the backside 3/4 for all the rain and everything we get down here to help shed that water off them things. So
But you're talking about that. I'm looking at it here, the picture of it. All right, go to the Beetle trap, Bob. It's
The
on
actual
second page. It's on the second page. Right there.
here.
Yeah, click on that, and then it goes to that. Now get down here to these other pictures. Click on that one, or that one right there. That's the one you want to look at. Now, see, that's the rear end. All you got is what, about a 1x3 there, and you got a stick here for your support for your crossbar,
And then 3/4 across, and then you just
can
basically put your screen on it, and then put a 3/4 standoff on it.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. Rip all something. I know Tim can do all that. Now, the other thing, Tim, you're talking about putting the cleat in there. Well, all you got to do is take your table saw, and you probably got a what is an 1/8 of an inch saw cut.
yes,
Maybe.
they're 7 1/4, and it's an 1/8 of an inch blade.
It's a 1/8 of an inch kerf, maybe
All you gotta do is
3/16.
Run one cut down the length of the whole board, and then cut it to size, right? Your sides.
Well, you cut them up to short, and then that way they're a little more perfect. They won't run out on you. And then tune it in to where it's cutting whatever the depth it needs to be there, and zip, 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 and you're done.
Hmm.
And all that. I mean, that is not that hard to make. Thing of it is, if you get, I know, so like you take and make a bunch of them, make a bunch of the 3/4 by 3/4 strips. That's just rip off the side of a board. It can be any length, just as long as it makes up the sides and the back. You got a 1x3 there, or 1x4, which is probably 3.5 inches.
Yes.
And then you could take that board, cut it up to your different lengths, and then set your table saw depth, bring it up and make a couple test cuts, and just, set it up where you run all the boards down and making that slit. And then you got some cross members there for support, to make the box supportive. They've got staples. I don't know. I guess you got a staple machine, or I don't know. I'm kind of I like screws myself, or a nail.
That's the one I got there, Phil.
Which one?
This one.
Okay. Oh, that west one.
Yeah.
Okay. So that
It uses my existing solid bottom board.
Okay.
And then this piece sits in this plastic tray, and then that sits on the bottom board, right? Takes the whole length of the bottom board.
Right.
And then this is just a standoff to raise your box up to give the bees entrance room.
All right, I'm gonna go back there and look closer at that. I'm trying to. How does the tray slide out on that?
Just right out of the front.
Oh, the tray's just between the rails.
Yep. It just sits in the bottom board.
I
And then
got
this
you.
piece is right on the edge, just to make
Gotcha.
this piece taller.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't need a rail if it's sitting on your solid.
If you look at the front end, that thing's tapered, so it's slanting, so
It's a landing board.
It'll walk up. They'll walk up on that thing.
I will tell you this, Bob. If you decide to leave your trays out, it's going to be when you put a screen bottom board and a tray underneath it. If you don't clean that thing out every month, you're going to have wax moths and stuff.
Yeah, you got to do that every couple of weeks, I would think.
Yeah, but I mean that's what I'm saying. A tray that doesn't have anything under it,
It says check them every 7 to 14 days.
Yeah, what I'm saying is don't ever pull that tray out and leave it out because you can't get to that area if you don't have a tray under there.
Well, and then the other thing is you got double the bee space in here, right, to get to as well if I take the trap out.
Yeah.
That's like I had that guy in here. What was it? 2 Fridays ago. He's one of our club members, and he had a single hive, and I'm going to say that he had a tray like that. What they're talking about here, slide it in, slide it out, and it was full of beetle larvae and all that. And I said, buddy, I said, you got to take it out and clean all that crap out of there, man.
Yeah.
This right here is just the kit without the 3/4 standoff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I'd be happy as I'll get out to go out there and just clean trays. You know what I mean? And
Oh, that'd be happy. Look, more dead beetles, bastards.
yes,
no,
sir.
I agree. I'm just saying that I build my own screen bottom boards with my own trays, but every now and again I forget that one's under there. Like I took them all out for winter, and there'll be like one that I forgot to take out, and it'll have stuff in there an inch deep, and it'll have wax moth larvae, the little what do you call those little things they hatch out of? You know, the
Cocoons.
yeah, little cocoons all over the place. You know, it's just a breeding ground for that stuff.
Well,
Do any of y'all set out a bug light at night for them rascals?
I don't.
Mm-mm.
I don't. The
Do
I'd
they
like to-
fly at night?
my bees will fly at night to that street light that hangs over.
No, I'm talking about the hive beetles, I guess is what you were trying to kill, right?
I don't
You're
know.
talking about the
Yeah,
wax
I don't think
moth,
they
I
The
fly.
wax moths.
Yeah, the wax
Oh,
moth.
wax moths.
But
My bees would fly to a bug light. My bees fly to my porch light this time of the year.
so this thing right here was just my compromise with myself to tell myself, well, I already have all these bottom boards. Instead of buying new bottom boards, I can retrofit them, right, and make them what I want or what I need. So that's why I decided to go that route.
Well, even if the trays don't last, but we'll say we'll give a
2 years.
2 years. I'd pay $20 every 2 years to replace them jokers instead of losing $150, $200 in a colony, and that's just your bees. That ain't counting what you would probably got off, honey sales and things like that if they'd have went.
Well, I also that Heartwood, I sent in a thing to become a distributor for them. So I might be carrying those on the website if they in fact get back to me on it. So of course it's a holiday, so we'll know.
I've never done it, and of course I wouldn't do it because I'm law abiding in every way you can think of. But I've heard that those beetle barns with the roach poison in the middle of them works.
Well, that's what I don't know if you saw it the live today, but that's what was in that one that was in the bottom of my colony that they propolised all the way down and all the way up. There was one beetle in it. One beetle and one wax moth cocoon.
I did try to. Oh, what was it? I've got some. It's the powder stuff you put in for roaches. I think I saw on Barnyard Bees or somebody where you could mix that with honey and put it in the middle. That didn't work. That didn't work worth a damn. It
The
dried
boric
out.
acid stuff.
Yeah, that was it. I tried that and that didn't work at all.
Well, the thing with
A huge beetle problem.
data, and I even showed Chris because Chris has been buying them from this other place because he really likes them. He's got them on every colony, which is great. However, he was paying shipping on every one of them, right? So he actually was ending up paying, I think, a little bit more than if he bought them full price of data without any shipping on them. So, so I think he's going there as well. And plus, he just brought me a bunch of bottom boards, solid bottom boards that he doesn't use because he buys the other ones to replace it, right? So I said, well, I'll buy these kits, I'll modify the ones he just brought me and the ones that I have extra, and then I'll start putting them underneath the colonies and then get some more and do the other ones. But, once it hits winter, those jokers don't walk as fast. Those hive beetles are slower. You can crush them easier. But if I can get them out of there before then and they can do their thing, maybe they'll start kicking it back into gear.
In that Heart, they make a 5-frame Beetle trap too.
And it's still $50 though.
I know.
It's the same price.
I think Tim can go into business here and make some money.
I think he could too.
I'm gonna do some tinkering around.
That E-hearth, you can build that easy. I know you got a table saw and a chop saw and staple
Yep.
gun for the wire. You can buy a roll of wire, hardware cloth. They don't have it at the store. You can get it off of Amazon.
And I'd rather buy it from you. All you would have to buy is the bottom board inserts pieces to duplicate it. And you being a beekeeper, you'll probably find some improvements on it too that you could do.
I'm gonna tinker around, like I say. Probably come home tomorrow and fiddle around with what's going on.
Go to that what's it called? E-hearth?
E-heart. But you got to look for beekeeping because they sell all kinds of stuff.
E-heart. Look for the beekeeping, and they got the below. You can put that magnifier on there, and you can see all of it in details.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, let me write that down before I forget.
You're muted.
Write it down.
You're muted, Paul.
There we go. How's that?
What's going on?
Good.
Well, Philip was talking about traps and wax larva damage.
Yeah.
But this is what I built, and I'm saying out of just 2x4s.
Yeah.
Like I said,
And you see your little slot right there? If that slot was up higher, you could slide one of them trays right underneath it.
you cut a rabbit all the way around this on a 2x4.
Is that
And
the
then
bottom? Is that the bottom?
underneath,
That's the top, isn't it? Oh yeah, there's just he's got a little He's got a little groove in there for his Coroplast counting boards.
and I built these off of a British design. It's actually the bees come in the top here, and then this is the underside entrance. So the box actually fits all the way over here, but as you can see, it gives a nice place for wax moths to camp out.
Mm-hmm.
Is that off of like
It's a national hive. A national hive.
Well, Mr. Ed has that same idea where you got to go underneath.
Let me go grab. See if I got something.
So that's what I built. But my thing that I put on there before was this is 1/8" hardware cloth, and hive beetles crawl all around on top of this.
I wonder if they're using a little bit bigger cloth. And I don't know what they're using for this black one. It doesn't look like it doesn't look like cloth at all. It looks like some kind of slotted thing.
Oh, is it on there?
Yeah,
Looks more like a queen excluder type of thing.
almost like a queen excluder. It better be a heavy duty one. That's all I'm saying, because I got a ton of queen excluders.
I was thinking at one time, instead of using 1/8" hardware cloth and that, using maybe a propolis trap. You know, because the bees can't get through the propolis trap, but I think the slots that are in there are small enough for the hive beetles to go through.
Until they propolis it.
Until they
Until you
they
trap
do what they're-
propolis.
So I get larvae down in the bottom of my trays a lot of times. The small hive beetle larvae. I get very few hive beetles because they don't really make it through that 1/8" hardware cloth. I've seen somebody else talk about using number 6 hardware cloth, which I guess is a 1/6 of an inch rather than an 1/8 of an inch, but it's still not big enough, I guess, for bees to.
I'm not sure what size is on that trap that Chris brought me today, but it's catching big beetles in it.
Yeah, and Brian C., the one that you just showed, he had a couple hundred beetles down in the oil on that thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've only had mine on for several hours right now, right? Like 6 hours maybe.
The thing I think you have to do if you're going to do an oil tray is you have to make sure you don't have any way for the bees to get to it, right? Will the bees go into the oil?
Yep.
Yep.
Because that's it's got to be pretty close tolerances.
That's like probably a 2-4 foot, 6 foot 2x4, and a piece of 1x4 is all it takes to make that and hardware that.
Yeah. Let me see if I could show my bottom board. This is a little bit older version of what I do, but it's
Blow it up.
basic. Yeah.
Bob,
Yeah.
blow him up so we can see that.
Sure.
Let me back up a little bit. So let me see here.
You put a custom three-way entrance on the front, huh?
Well, I don't do that anymore. That was early on. I did that. That was just for a 3/8, but it's really just
A 1x4 box, huh?
But in the back, this thing here serves. This is on all four sides, so it supports a drawer that slides in there. But I'm thinking about staying with something like this, but getting rid of the drawer. I mean, the main reason I did this was because of the way I treat for mites with those old cheap wands. This is let's see here.
What's your drawer look like?
This is the drawer right here. Let me see if I can put this in here. It's really awkward. Hold on a second. Let me tilt this down a little bit.
Is it all made out of wood?
It's all wood, yeah. So this drawer slides in here like that. So bees can't get in there. And there's this little notch because I use those wands, those oxalic acid wands.
Right.
And,
Yeah, there's your oxalic acid right there.
And somebody came up with that. To keep the oxalic acid wand down, there's this little hook there that the rod sits in. And then I put a little metal plate there to protect the wood from the heat of the wand. But I get tired of dealing with this drawer. So what I end up doing is I got just a piece of glue wand that I stick in there.
Yep.
Like that. And I got a longer piece that I like better than this. I've got it outside because it supports the whole wand. It sticks out about that far because the weight of that wand. And I just stick that in there and lay a cloth across the back, block the entrance, and that's the way I treat. But you could do something similar to this, but you just need to move, you need to have less clearance here, and you could slide an oil pan back and forth in there. So still could do.
I use a piece of chloroplast at the bottom to check the mite drops or whatever.
Yeah.
And my wife bought me a couple aluminum pans to go underneath there, but they're a little small. So what they were talking earlier about, putting maybe a 3/4 or 1/2 inch cleat all around the edge, and that other aluminum pan will fit down in the bottom.
Yeah, and Paul, you might could just take you a little piece of thin plywood and set in there, and then set your oil pan on top of that. It wouldn't matter if it was as wide.
Right.
This thing's pretty much overthought. I mean, you could just take your counting board.
Put your board.
What I've been doing lately because it's so hot, I don't use those drawers. I just stick my counting board in there, and it'll fit and stay on the bottom right there like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing with that plastic chloroplast thing, sliding that slot that's on mine.
But half the time that I spend building these things is building this drawer right here.
Exactly.
It's really nice because this counting board, it just notches down in there perfectly. It's got a little extra groove around the edge, so it slides in and out. But thing is, I don't use these. We get so hot, I want these to be vented, even because out in the country, I may not be back for my bees in 2 weeks, and it's 100 degrees. I'm not going to leave this bottom board in there. So, anyway.
Yeah, so you got your shirt on there.
I was doing that for Tim's benefit. If he starts messing around with bottom boards, he might just want to build his own. They're not that hard to build. That drawer is they're not, it's not any harder to build, but it kind of doubles your time you've got invested.
I see you got your Louisiana Tech shirt on there.
Oh, yeah, I do. That's right. I can't even do it anymore.
Y'all throwing gang signs up over there?
Okay,
That's right.
Rah rah ramma jamma, Ruston, Louisiana, Tech Bulldogs.
So I've got the Robbie vaporizer. I used to use the lawn, but I bought one of those. So
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get one of those soon.
to where you can
Yeah.
use the vaporizer or whatever you're doing. I just tried the core
We can't talk about it's Monday, Paul. We can't talk about that.
No Mike Monday.
No Mike Monday.
But
that is the reason. That's the reason I don't think I'll ever go back to solid bottom boards, is because that's the way I check and see if I have mites. I treat with oxalic acid, and then I come back and check for drop. Then I know which ones I need to come back in and reapply based on how many drop.
I'm using screen bottom boards, and I'm using screen inner covers, and then I'm setting my top cover off of that to give them another layer of ventilation. I mean, it's been 100 up to 106 degrees here this summer, and those guys are bearding on the outside trying to keep cold. Now, everybody will say, "Hey, you survived a long time without us." Yeah, but they're in a tree that's got bark this thick around the outside, so it's got a little more insulation on that puppy than what I'm providing them.
I'm driving myself crazy because I want to do a palleted bottom board, and I just trying to figure out how to make a screen bottom board work in a pallet system is really more difficult than you'd think. I thought I had it figured out, but I don't.
But okay, your hive stands that you have now, how high off the ground is your bottom board on your hives?
I went with the old Fred Dunn recommendation of like 16 inches, 15 inches, 16 inches. Now he's up to 18. I didn't follow him up to that, but
From what I understand, the problem with a screen bottom board, if you're going to put it on a pallet only 4 inches off the ground, other junk gets in your hive.
Yeah. Who is background is that? That's your background, Bob?
Oh, is it buzzing?
No, I'm just saying the background. My hives are the background there picture. That's about how high mine are. Pretty close to that.
And Charlie's there?
Is that Charlie's? Okay.
What's that?
The background behind in the screen here.
Here.
Oh no, that's Lee's.
Oh, was
That's
that Lee's?
Lee's.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about, but mine are about that high. I use a 2x4 frame and I put them on 8-inch blocks, but I put little posts to get them up another, 4 or 5 inches. So it's 8.
I'm 2 center blocks and then a half flat center blocks high.
Plus 4.
So 16.
Yeah, about 16 inches to the bottom of the colony.
So,
But I have had a couple of instances where when I just put the counting boards out of there, something went up there and like grabbed the counting board. You could just see like teeth mark on it where it pulled it out like a raccoon or skunk or something. A couple of times, not much. Something chewed on them.
checking my work phone. But
I lost 4 this year and had to deal with slimy, webby frames, and if I never have to do that again, it'll be too soon.
I've been lucky. We don't have very many. It's too dry here for hive beetles, but the wax moth beat them to whatever's there anyway. I guess the honey is what the beetles go after, right? They don't really go after anything else.
the pollen and
They'll be all over the place in that thing. Food chamber, honey, pollen, especially your honey and your pollen.
Really?
But him
Well, the wax moths and the other bees have taken care of any honey that are in there. I mean, other bees have robbed out the honey and the wax moth and have taken, come in and taken care of any pollen. But I'll tell you what, though, I think we're on a look. Even though it hadn't rained, we got a little sprinkle yesterday up here. I put out some honey residue on some buckets, and the bees they're on it, but it's not like very many. It's like 30 bees or something. Whereas it would have been, hundreds of them just fighting over it. So they're finding something somewhere. I don't know what it is.
Was in it today, and there's some fresh nectar, wet nectar, or whatever in there too. They're getting something, even though we haven't had.
they're probably coming to my open feeder.
Is that what it is? They made it all the way up there.
Yeah,
They smelled it
it smelled. I'm feeding every bee around here.
because
They're probably
I
mine
did-
anyway.
I looked up some stuff today, and we had in July and August. And this is Louisiana. We had, I think, less than 6 inches of rain, or right at about 6 inches of rain in 2 months. And we had 24 days of 100-degree weather in August.
I don't know that they're going to be that impressed because, of course, you guys have had a lot of rain. Bob, I know you guys have. We've had no rain at all in that same period, and at least that, especially down at the farm, and maybe a tenth of an inch up here, if that.
It's still dry. We got something just in time to keep the grass from just like totally. It was already brown, but it's coming back a little bit.
No, ours, if it's not watered here, it's dead.
So Ian needs to click the link. Click the link in the chat, Ian. Come on over to the dark side. It's right up there.
and then
Right up there in the chat.
and then turn off your volume in YouTube.
Yeah.
There's
And then
Brian.
Brad will jump in when you jump in.
Brian,
Probably 50 other people.
Brian needs to jump in too. I'd say
Brian,
him.
he's unpacking his suitcase at the hotel.
Ah,
My favorite nightstand is a wheel with a tire on it. Just set it up on there. I've got some of those. I got 4 Hive stands sitting out there next to my building from the old truck.
yeah. I was just listening to Richard Noel. He and Gruffy were talking about those Hive stands tires that he uses. I didn't see do they have the wheels on them, or are they just the tires? I think they're just the tires, aren't they?
I'm not sure.
But if you have that down here, it's just a mosquito.
Yes, sir.
That's
Not
all.
when you're not getting any rain.
And it's snakes too. Snakes will crawl in there and live.
Well, my buddy that we show from time to time on our videos, he's in the junking business, and he has an abundance of whatever you want to put together and make them things. But he's got, I think, 3 colonies sitting on tires. I mean, they're on 4x4s, but the outside edges is tires. Well, he's stacking supers on top of them things. I told him, I said, Lance, I said, brother, how rickety that thing is, teeters back and forth on them old empty tires. I said, we get a good tropical storm or something, they just gonna roll off. Well, I'll get the forklift. We'll change it up. But shoot, that was back in spring. Them babies are still riding on it, but I wouldn't do it.
They're probably good for earthquakes,
All
Oh,
right.
that's for sure.
We've
There's
officially
Brad.
gone international.
Is it okay if I invited a friend?
Only if they show up.
Bring them on.
It's bring a friend to chat night.
Bring a friend to chat night.
2 for the price of 1.
Well, if you can kick the kids off the internet, maybe he'll show up.
He's talking to James in the chat right now. So what's going on in your world today, Mr. Brad?
Just work, of course.
Get your escapes put on.
We put our escapes on the outyard today. We showed up, and my wife came to help me, and we showed up there about mid-morning. It was kind of a goofy morning, and I got out of the truck and started unloading things, and I got a few sprinkles of rain. I kind of thought, oh no. I didn't know if we could do it or not. It was going to start to rain. And you know what happens in that kind of weather? The bees get awful cranky. And we both showed up there in shorts.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I
you
don't
know
think
what?
your wife did that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And it was perfect. It was
This
fine.
is
The
almost
bees
like a
didn't bother us at all.
Sasquatch sighting.
What?
Sasquatch does live, guys.
Yeah, I've got
There
the
he
sun
is.
is shining through the window.
Is
Hey, Mr. Seppler.
Good
Hey,
evening.
Ian.
How are you guys?
Hey,
Good.
guys.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm going to make sure I don't have latency problems, but if I do, I'll just hop back off. But I think things are okay this time.
Yeah,
Sounds okay so far.
Yeah, good.
And you got the Janet Jackson headset on, so you're good.
Oh boy, still laughing at jokes. I'm so tired. Worked late last night,
Hey,
combining
Brian.
wheat to beat the rain. Brian,
You're muted,
You're
Brian.
muted.
Mr. Cooper.
Can't hear you, buddy. We can
And
see
but
you
it's not
talking.
showing that it's muted. It's just not. We can't
Muted.
hear.
Yeah, it's not showing as muted. There must be something wrong with the microphone.
Yeah, something else going on.
There we go.
There you go.
Got you now.
That's what happens when you go to a hotel. You got to reset everything.
The So what's there? What have you been
You-
doing, Mr. Stepler, in your bee yard?
today I was shaking mites. Didn't find very many though,
That's a good thing.
which is a good thing. Yeah, have my
What did
treatments
you-
in.
What did you, Ian? Did you do like a 10% of your bee yard type of thing, or?
I didn't get around to very many. I'm just kind of poking around, just seeing where the condition of the colonies are at right now. More so, I'm just looking for food stores and just the stage of the nest. I was going to ask Brad what he's seeing, but so then I was sampling at the same time. So I probably went through, well, I didn't go through 200 colonies, but I was through 200 colonies worth of yards, and I probably picked about 10% of them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I accumulated a big bunch of bees. It's a waste, really, but no mites. Well, 3 mites. So if 3 were confirmation that my washes were probably working. It's just I wasn't finding any mites, so I'll take it that way.
All right, I got to let everybody know. Since Ian came on tonight, we will waive the No Mite Monday restriction.
Yeah,
Such a
that's
brown,
anything
you're such
else.
a
That's
brown
close to the
nose.
rest of us, yeah.
Such a brown noser,
You know,
Bob.
hey, we have a hard and fast rule on the stream, Ian. It no Mite talk on Mondays.
No Mite Monday.
No Mite Mondays. But since you came on, and
asked.
it's Monday and it's Labor Day.
All right.
It's a holiday. We'll celebrate it as we'll waive the No Mite Monday clause on the contract.
Call it Monday night.
See where you rank now.
So what are you using to treat with, Ian?
Yeah, I went back to Apivar again. I know I talked a lot about not going back to that product, but I had so much trouble with colony health all spring. It's been so bloody hot. I wasn't able to convince myself to do any experimenting. I just stayed with what seemed to be working before. But I put those treatments in this spring, and since I've done that, I haven't seen any mites. I'm wondering if I don't think they changed the formulation up, but I noticed the strips are made with a different matrix now. So I'm wondering if maybe, I don't know. I'm just spitballing with other beekeepers noticing the same thing, but I'm wondering if it releases the product more effectively than the old strip matrix did. I'm not sure what's going on, but
You talked
I'm not
about the
finding
way,
mites.
the way you think the strip is made. It's not as hard, or
It's a different type of plastic. Wouldn't you say, Brad? I think we've talked about this.
I've not used the
I
new
dropped about
strips.
yeah.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
yeah,
Maybe
no,
it wasn't
I
you I was talking to. Then.
I bought some just to have them ready for when I pull my supers, but I'll be like 2-3 weeks now before I throw my strips in. So I'll have to see when I open the packages what they look like.
I'm the same way. Actually, we're going to be putting some in probably tomorrow.
I think they're making them out of Swedish shot tiles now, right?
I know that I bought 60 of them and dropped them in that new pack of 60. Like they say, you can tear them
Yeah.
easy peasy. And then I had
Maybe
a
they
pack.
could have somebody at the factory tear them apart for us. That'd be awesome.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean that would take like a whole extra second.
They could just have a little machine with a little knife in the middle. It just goes through, and then no more playing around.
I've put strips on my main colonies, but I'm waiting on some test stuff to come in from those Appy tablets that they're talking about. So I'm going to try that on a couple hives to see how they do.
I've
We'll
never
see.
seen that. What is it?
So it's a tablet. It looks like a urinal cake that's about this big, and you just set it on top of your frames, and it's got thymol and some other stuff in it, and supposedly it works well for killing them. I don't know. I just saw the pictures that where it's a test thing, right? So
I'm waiting to see if anybody tries that Amaflex.
Amaflex. Well,
Have you seen it?
I did try the outlaw treatment earlier in the year, and it was pretty effective. 12.5% Amatraz and Crisco on a tongue depressor, and it dropped mites quick. You got to do one stick for 5 days for 3 treatments in succession. So it did knock them back a little bit.
Now, Carl's talking about the Amatraz and the syringe. That is a commercial product, and I think that you actually have to have a pesticides license for that in order to apply that.
Well, I know somebody that actually does have a pesticides license.
Imagine
Is that the Amaflex?
And that's the one where they show where they're pulling a white strip of it like a gel.
Yeah.
If you read you have to be licensed to get that.
Is that what you were?
What do you have to do to get one of those licenses?
I don't know. What do you have to pass?
Kill bugs for a living.
Or whatever. It's designed for somebody like Brad or
I kill bugs
Ian
for a living and as a hobby in my yard.
Have you looked at the price of that stuff?
You got to get that
Cartridge.
You
The cartridge is designed for like Ian, man, where you're dropping 1,000 hives, and this cartridge does so many hundreds of hives.
Oh wow!
And everything.
Is that what you were talking about, Brian?
Yeah. I've seen it. It's like this little teeny. It's like a longer rectangular strip, and I've seen like in the videos. Like I don't know much about it, but I've seen where they have like a big giant syringe, and they just put like a little strip of it.
It's from Vito Pharma.
They're saying that like there's no. Like you don't have to watch the temperature. You don't have to. It's just like the latest and greatest thing. I was just curious if anybody has gotten it.
You know what? It looks eerily similar to my outlaw treatment. Only they put it in a syringe. So
we could have some of the Canadians get it, and that way they won't have to deal with the American. Yeah, that's it. There, Amaflex.
So that's exactly what I do. Only I don't put it in a syringe. I mean, it's a popsicle stick or a tongue depressor.
Yeah.
And you just mix up the Amatraz in there and then chuck it in there for 5 days.
That's FDA approved or whatever for use in the U.S.?
Let's see.
I know it's approved in Ohio because I looked, and it's approved for use in Ohio. So
yeah, Ohio, not in South Carolina, which is funny because we don't have bee police here. So I'll just order from someone in Ohio and then bring it down here or something.
You know somebody in Ohio?
Huh.
It's registered in South Carolina now, so they are registering it everywhere.
What's the active ingredient?
I'm sure it's Amatraz.
Amatraz.
Yeah.
Amatraz? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing as
Amatraz.
Yeah, but click on the product and it how much it does per syringe or whatever.
Where does it show?
So flash treatment, how long is the treatment?
Well, if it's the same stuff I've been using, it's like 5 days, 7 days.
Well, doesn't it say? Like,
I think it's 7 days.
You said 7-day treatment.
7
Yeah,
days.
I think it is a 7-day.
Let's see. They had a video.
Because I've been looking, but like I saw one place that was selling it, but they were sold out and didn't even have a price listed. So,
I guess we're going full on, not Monday now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. 99% efficacy
in brood-free colonies.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's
that's
a 7-day treatment. I'm thinking, anything should be 15 days anyway, because then that allows all the cappings to emerge. Because you're just not touching so many mites in the cells.
But you have to
Yeah.
you do follow-ups, right?
Yeah. So if it's like the
Well, it's a
alcohol treatment,
knockdown, right?
yeah, you put it in and knock them down, and then you come back
Yes.
5 days later, you knock them down again, and you repeat that 3 times, so 15 days.
I'd like to put a treatment in, and something that on the schedule like Formic Pro where you can put it in and it's a 15-day treatment kind
Yeah,
of thing.
I like
because
what
that
Matthew
gives you
said
the
there.
what's that, Brian?
So Matthew there commented, he said you can do 7 on, 7 off, and then 7 on again. So you get 2 treatments for a total of 21 days. I'd be curious.
Yeah, that's the
Well, I've got it in
capping.
the Crisco can.
Capping is at day 8, right? So if you kill all the mites and then you have emergence for another 7 days with no treatment, and then you have 7 days without treatment, then you're really running up to the next time frame when the mites are going to hide on you.
Yeah.
Seven on, 4 or 5 off, perhaps. So that the emerged ones don't hide on you
Yeah.
again.
I don't know.
I'm just spitballing.
I'll just tell him if I go to buy some, I'll say, Ian Stepler sent me.
Yeah.
He said,
Well, that's what they say at Costco.
yes,
That's
at
what they say at Costco.
when you get your sugar,
Or Ian.
when you're getting your sugar, just say, Ian Stepler sent me.
Yeah. Well, Ian buys his sugar bags here, so
Yes,
I thought I'd buy.
I don't remember the last time I bought bagged sugar. It's been a long time.
I gotta find out who that was. That's
I don't
hilarious.
understand why they would want to impersonate me. All the people to impersonate. I mean, makes no sense to me.
Well, the big wheel. Everybody wants to be Ian Stepler. You know that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
But
does
explain to me at what benefit, though. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't
why
get it.
someone
Like,
would- yeah.
what I don't get is he's talking to the guy, the grocery guy at Costco. He says, "Yeah, I'm Ian Stepler." Blah 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 blah. It's like the grocery guy at Costco knows who the heck Ian Stepler is. Like, what? Like, why are you impersonating Ian Stepler at Costco? That doesn't make any sense. And
But
here's
the
my
fact that he knew-
membership card with somebody else's name on it.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, that's just it. Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm going to start. I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to Louisville now, and I'm going to run around all around that convention center, that expo center, and tell them, hey, I'm Ian Stepler. Don't you mess with me.
You could do that. I'm not showing up.
Yeah.
So,
there you go.
yeah, you might get away with it, maybe.
He'll go to check in like the following year, and they'll be like, oh, you're Ian Stepler, huh?
So Ian, when I messaged you, I was standing in front of the guy. I was standing with my phone, and I showed him. I said, "This Ian Stepler right here." So I messaged you. You buying sugar at Costco?
Yeah,
And he was standing there while I was messaging you.
Yeah, I was in the bee yard. Just no, hell no. I buy it from Tabor.
And I knew that is just like, I don't know, maybe he
But
dropped in
he
a bucket
knew
of
who
sugar.
you were, so that's how famous you are in Manitoba now.
Because he didn't even
Costco is
say, like,
aware.
he said something like, well, Ian just bought a whole bunch of bags or something like that, and I thought, Ian. I said, Ian who? Well, Ian Stepler. Ian Stepler? Really?
Yeah, he just bought like 20 bags.
Like, besides the 2 tankers of syrup that he just bought?
Wow,
That's not cheap. Yeah.
that's crazy.
I thought it was so hilarious. I really
Have
want
you
to find
dug-
out who did it. Sorry.
Brad, have you dug down into your colonies recently, or have you had time to go down in them?
Well, we've looked at a few. We've been doing some spot checks for queenless. We've been trying to, not spot checks, but we've been doing some quick queen checks kind of thing. So we have checked in a few, and doggone it, the little buggers are still on a flow out here somehow.
Yeah.
They're not much because they are robbing, but there's still wet frames in there. They've got nectar everywhere. So I'm thinking maybe I'm jumping the gun with the feed.
I don't know. I'm finding the same thing. There would be. Is there? I was going to ask. Are they opening up the brood nest? Have you seen any empty spot, any space?
I'd say they're more backfilling than reserving space like they do in the summer. But they haven't had any honey supers for a week or so.
Hmm.
So that kind of
It
worries me a
is.
little
We're
bit.
into September. I guess it is that time of year. I'm noticing the big shift from last week to this week. Last week uh, seemed to be more brooding going on, and then this week the queen's really slowed right down. And as that brood is emerging, she's leaving a lot of space. So I think I'm just going to backfill a nest up and be done with it. Get them fixed up. But it's hot, boy. This
It's
is
so hot.
very unusual. Eh?
It was what did they say, Bob, in Fahrenheit? What was it on
91.
Saturday? 91, 92 Fahrenheit here on Saturday. It was brutal.
Yeah.
But
was
Welcome to our
yeah,
world.
my litmus test for I'll take the supers off, and I'll take the escape and the queen excluder and everything. And my litmus test is I just crack right into the center, pull the center frame. If
Yeah.
that sucker's full of pollen, there ain't no queen in there, right?
Yeah.
And so then if I'm kind of shaky on it, then I'll set my wife down and say, hey, go through this. She's really good at that.
Yeah. Do the
And
synced carry. Yeah.
yeah, because it's remarkable how much pollen is coming in, because that center frame, that thing's 90% pollen if there's no queen.
I think I lose more colonies here in the summertime than I do over our winter.
It's surprising how many you lose. I remember it was 2017, Ian. I remember 2017, and I was losing my mind. I was messaging you and losing my mind that colonies are queenless, colonies are, and and you just said, don't worry about that because it's normal. Just nobody talks about it.
Yeah. It's just what it is. I used to fix them up, like middle of summer. I'd buy queens, put them down there. I'd spend some money on them, and then they just bugger up anyway. So I tend to now, if they've swarmed, unless we can get into them and doctor them up with queen cells if we have time. We did a lot of that this year, so that helped. But sometimes you screw the whole. They're going through a cycle, right? So you got to let them fulfill that cycle, and I tend to find they fulfill it right about now. So we're going through next week, and we're going to start shaking out colonies. Anything that doesn't make it by now, it's gone. Like you say, it's quite obvious. Some of those ones, it's packed full of pollen, so there's nothing going on down there.
Yeah. It's really surprising how many drop off. I did have quite a bit of swarming this year, which is really crazy because I had such a rocky start, and
So
then they just got away.
why do you think people don't talk about it? I've got my own hypothesis on it, especially from the YouTube perspective, is that if I lose a colony in the summer or over winter, let's say it just didn't overwinter, then you can blame the winter. But in the summer, I've got to blame me, and nobody wants to take that blame.
Kinda.
That hey, I screwed up and I lost the colony or whatever.
I tend to agree, and I feel that way myself. All these swarms that happen, that's my fault. That's 100% my fault. I need to get better at that, and at least that's what I tell myself to that I can. It's not blame. It's not gee, I should feel bad and hang my head and mope around. It's I can take responsibility to do better, right? That's beekeeping. That's the difference between having bees and beekeeping, right? Having bees and letting them fly away, or beekeeping, keep them in the box, make the split, raise the queens, do that same thing that they want to do in a controlled fashion so that the bees that leave the box are now in another box in a controlled fashion. So that's why I take that on myself and say that is my responsibility to do that, and therefore I need to get better at that. So these swarms this year, that was my responsibility.
So for this year, Brad, was it population management? Was it mite pressure? What was causing the swarms going this year?
Population management, really, because they definitely weren't abscons. They definitely were swarms, and I just, I'm really not very good at that yet. To be honest, I'm not very good at that yet. I had such a rocky start. If you've been watching my channel at all, you can see I reviewed some of my videos in May, and it really kind of depressed me the way I was feeling, because it was rough. And then I think I got into that mode where gee, these bees suck so bad that I couldn't possibly have anything go wrong, and I let down my guard, and I didn't take that enough action. I mean, it wasn't every colony I have, but it was, 10%.
I don't know. You might be hard on yourself, Brad. I think, yeah, you're probably right. There's swarm losses. Like I do, that's pretty obvious. We see that, but there's also a lot of switch outs going on within these colonies. Like I had a lot of trouble this spring, and then because of that, we equalized once, twice, and then we did another equalization round right in the middle of the flow. And I've never done that before in my life. It's just a tremendous amount of work, but we're going through and we're pulling the brood from these monster colonies that would be going unemployed. Those bees that emerge that aren't going to do anything for me later on. So we're pulling some of that brood away and boosting smaller ones within the apiary. Just worked absolutely fantastic. I think I might employ that from now on, just to help even things out. But I noticed a lot of switchovers. There's a lot of not necessarily they're not swarming, but they're just replacing their queens. And by doing that, they take a huge risk, right? And we don't see that. And I think there's a lot of conditions going on at that exact time that are out of our control. So there's probably, you can maybe take some blame for it, but I think there's a lot of blame to be put other places too.
The switch outs, I don't really take blame for it. The swarming, I do. The swarming, I can, I have a good chance to control that. The switch outs, and I do take a little bit of responsibility for the failures in that regard too, because I don't think my hive placement configuration is very good for requeening. Having my entrances facing each other the way I do, I think that's confusing, and I think that reduces the chance that virgin's actually going to get back to where she belongs. And that's just a theory. But I've done OTS a lot, and it's a fantastic system, and it's extremely reliable. It doesn't work well in this apiary with these hives placed the way they are.
Yeah, same with me. Everything's straight rows.
Yeah,
because it looks nice, right? Well, because it works well with the Easy Loader. That's
your entrances pretty well all face the same way, right?
I used to alternate them, but I found the hives. Actually, it's interesting. Over the last few tough years, I've found that the entrances facing to the south or to the towards morning sun always seem to do a little bit better. So I try to point them either south, like out of the prevailing wind, or into that morning sun. And so I've been doing more of that recently.
Hey, what do you guys mean when you say switch out?
Supersedure.
Oh, supersedure. Okay.
Yeah. I used to face them back to back, so all my entrances were. I'd have two hives and there'd be entrances each way, and that's fine. I really like the configuration I use because it's so easy to manage the bees, and it's partly how I manage to wear shorts because I'm never standing in front of the entrance.
And you're a little crazy too.
And I'm a little, nutty in the head. Went out in the rain today to set escapes in my shorts.
Yeah, crazy.
I thought we arrived there and I thought, this is not going to go well. Not going to go well at all. And we set 40 escapes and there was not one tiny issue at all. We're both wearing shorts and not an issue at all. It was warm, but it had rained a little. Yeah. There was pollen coming in like crazy. So those bees out there are still on a flow. Landowner came to talk to me and he said, far side of the field there against the marsh. He said, there is everything blooming out there right now. And there was alfalfa galore in the field right beside the hives. So I got to keep watching those brood nests because, I don't really want to plug them out with feed if they're getting that stuff.
Well, alfalfa, I think, makes a good winter feed, though.
I think
I've always thought. So even if they plug out on that this time of year, you're going to feed them anyways, save you some sugar costs.
And they're going to use a lot of that because they're still producing quite a bit of brood. So they're going to use a lot of that just hand to mouth, because it's not like a July flow where they're going to plug it right out on a nectar flow. That's just it. My impression is just going to kind of cycle. They're going to bring it in, it'll sit for a bit, and then they'll use it up for brood rearing. So I don't want to put a big pail on there to mess it up.
Nothing.
I hate this time of year because I'm looking down there and I like to see colonies well, what I typically are looking for is expansion of nests, and right now they're contracting, and it's hard to read the nests as they contract like that. And I'm following up with syrup, and I'm thinking, oh, damn it, I put too much syrup on, or maybe there's more of a flow. But they're like, she's giving that space up anyways, and every time we have hot weather like this, and I think, oh, I could just brood a little bit longer. This hot weather always sends me into a state of like a casualness, and then it gets cold just like that, and then I can't get the feed in the colonies.
And you haven't done your feeding. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So I'm
I've
trying
had
Labor Day.
flows.
You got to start feeding Labor Day, get it cured, get it in there, get October set up, and then just
That's
do
been
it.
my rule. I've had flows last to the 15th to 20th of September here. And it's so hard to just say, okay, cut it off and just get your feeding on. So
Because then it messes up your treatments too, right? So
Messes
you
up
want to
the
get your treatments down there. You want to get it into the nest. So
yeah,
that's one of the reasons I pulled the pin just a little bit earlier this year. Well, because I wanted to get the work done with the school kids and all, and I did. But also because I want to get my treatments in there. Just a touch of EFB go through the operation, and I want to get that under control before the robbing season starts. So the early end, I think you've seen more rain up your way, Brad. Because down here we're just absolutely parched. We are we didn't even get a rain today. It was supposed to rain. So it ended things off for me. So I took advantage of that to take the boxes off, give them just a hint of feed, and then give them some oxytetracycline just to manage that bacterial infection if it was going to spread on me.
Right.
It didn't, but
I
allowed me
put
the
feed
opportunity.
on. I forget what day it was. A few days ago, I put feed on, and I put the half-gallon jars on all my nukes, those 6-frame nukes that I've been making. They were gone in a day. Half gallon of syrup in a 6-frame nuke in a day. I'm thinking, what's going on? So that little one that I did yesterday, I'm going to have to get some syrup on that. What do I call that? The pallet hive, or what do I call that thing?
Yeah. When you messaged me on that, the first thing I thought about was enclosing it somehow.
Sure.
But then how do you manage that then? So
what
that
do you
was
do with
kind of a smart idea to go in and cut it out, an actual cutout.
Well, I was looking at it, and the first thing I saw was I thought, I looked on the bottom. I slid my hive tool in there, and I thought, well, they haven't really nailed it to the bottom of the pallet yet. So it, gave the pallet a lift, all came up, and I thought, okay, so it's not nailed to the pallet below it.
Yeah,
and I looked at the combs, and they were so beautifully straight. And I counted them, and there was 9. And I thought, 9 combs. I got a box, and I set it on top, and I drew a square inside the box, and it was perfect. I thought, okay, let's try this.
Yeah, watch that on.
Did that ever work? It worked. Yeah, I did not expect that to work.
You must have flow going on, because if there was not. If they're severely, there's no way they could have defended that nest. There's no way.
No,
not
and there was hardly any. Like that little nest was right full of bees. I could look in there, and they were right full to the edges with bees, and lots of sealed brood in there. I kind of thumbed my way through, and there were lots of sealed brood, but and not aggressive at all. Too, Carol had a little bit of smoke going, but I was I was cutting with the circular saw. I was cutting with a sawzall of all things.
Yeah,
I was driving screws with an impact driver, and never one single problem. Of course, shorts, right? Shorts and a veil, and I wore gloves just in case I had to. When I picked it up, I had to do some really quick, grabbing of some comb or something. But boy, that went just perfectly. I couldn't believe it.
You're going to have to graft from that queen next year. Just a few, just to get the spirit of survival.
We're already making plans to, how are we going to get the nest out of that comb that has no frames, right? How are we going to get them out? And I was saying, well, if they survive the winter and they start to build, I'll put a new box under it, a new box of drawn comb under there. And if I can get her to, if I can find her in the bottom box, then we'll just jam a queen
shake the whole box to shake them
well,
out.
we'll just jam a queen excluder in there, right? And then wait a while, and then the rest of it's crush and strain or whatever, right?
She'll eventually go down there if you let them build
Sure.
it up. She'll build down, and then you can trap her.
Yeah. Yeah. Just make sure she's in that bottom box, and then I can just slide a queen excluder and then let the rest of it emerge. And Bob's your uncle, as they say, as I say.
Yeah, I had to laugh when you sent me that message. You sent me a picture. I was in the field. He says, "What am I going to do with this? This is going to spend an hour of my time." And I knew you couldn't walk away from it.
Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
was
You
a
can't walk away.
satisfying hour, though, right?
It was. It was.
Yeah.
It was a
Made good
satisfying
YouTube
hour.
content.
Made a good little video. It really turned out nicely. My wife had a lot of fun too, and it was such a perfect situation because it was like working on the workbench, building some woodworking, because it was the perfect height, and I didn't have to bend down. I didn't have to stretch or nothing. It was just absolutely perfect in every way.
At least you don't have hive beetles to deal with.
No, I don't, and I'm thankful for that. I was thankful for cordless tools for sure.
Now, Ian, you were saying about when you were equalizing, you had your honey supers on, and then you picked them up, and then you went in there and pulled out, I'll say, 2 or 3 frames of brood. I think I see. Didn't you have that on video? I believe it was.
Yeah,
So
that was
you
a
found
painful job.
that you, when you put your empties in and all that, that there wasn't any swarm problem. You had less swarm problems per se.
I think that helped me a little bit because I took some of that surge, that massive surge, just on the back half of summer. I stripped that away from the big ones. That might. I'm looking through my yards now, and the consistency within my hives, they're just spot on. Boom, boom, all the way down the line. I did, like Brad was saying, he might be seeing some swarming issues, and I typically see the same, but I didn't see near the same this year. So I'm thinking that might help.
Basically, I mean, I had told you something like that before when we were on together, where that's pretty much what I do is I go in there through the honey season and pull, I'll say maybe half the amount of cat brood off and put empties in, with drawn comb, and I don't have the swarming issues. And then this year, I put queen excluder and then the honey supers, and then I actually put that brood up on top. So the bees would come up and either hatch it out, or like you say, if you had a hive down on the row that's weak, I know all I have to do is go back to that top box and pull the brood frames and the bees and drop it in that weaker hive. And
it's a terrible amount of work. I sent
Carrie
and another employer, and we had like 4 or 5 boxes filling full of honey. I had my easy loader down at that time, and my second one was buggered up. I won't get into it, but I sent Carrie and the other employee in there, Harrison, and they took it off like a bunch of foreign workers. Everything goes down, and then they went and then they skimmed and they put everything back up, and then I got the easy loader back, and with the loader, it was just so much easier, just and in and out. But
well, I
think if we're to do it again, we need a loader to handle that back work, but I think that was too much. Those boxes were getting pretty heavy.
Oh, I'm sure.
I noticed what you said, and I'm saying this for a reason. So if Robert's watching, you said that you equalized 3 times.
Yes, 3 times, yeah.
Just 3 times, not every week. Like I think Robert said he was going in every week and pulling brood, and he made all of his colonies the same, but he had kind of a poor honey crop, in his opinion. Is it possible to over equalize to where you're actually holding that colony back that should be producing a ton of bees?
That's hard. That's one of the hardest decisions I made this spring, is I had these poor ones, and then I had all these good ones. And, I'm in the honey business, so that's I have to make sure my colonies produce. So how much am I going to tax those production colonies to boost up the smaller ones, which aren't going to produce me honey? Like my production colonies, they're probably around the average for production, maybe a little bit above average. We had a good flow there for a bit at the end, but all the poor colonies, my nukes and the smaller type colonies, dragged my average down to my worst crop ever. So I needed to shore them up to make sure that they were capable coming fall to be able to hit winter, right? So that's the judgment call. You go in, and how much can you take without compromising the production of those nests moving forward? So I went in once, And then I went in the second time when to take a split. We're not taking splits. We're just equalizing these damn things. So I try to get the yard as even as I could. And I'm still suffering, like my colonies are still suffering with the nosema infection. I'm certain that's what's going on. Probably other things going on at the same time. But then later into summer, after seeing the honey coming in and after seeing the boxes filling up, then I allowed the round to go through to take the brood from the nests that I knew would not compromise that crop, because by the time those bees emerged, they're not going to contribute too much to the honey crop itself. So I wanted to take those bees into boosting some other colonies within the apiary. So it worked very well.
So at what point do you decide that, hey, this colony just isn't growing, even after, let's say, a round of equalization? They're just not growing like they should. At what point do you say, yeah, I'm not giving them anymore? I'm not contributing. Like, my thing is, after my flow, when I was looking at my colonies, if there was one that wasn't growing by then, it's not going to grow. And all I'm doing then is taking good brood and giving it to a bad situation and wasting it, in my opinion.
That's terrible. And typically I take those ones and they're straight into the nuke operation. I don't even give them a second chance. But this year, as you know, they look like shit. So what am I supposed to do? And I can't just shake everything out, because of my bees, well, they're suffering from sickness. So I knew it was a problem with my older bees dying off too soon, because these colonies were maintaining a decent little nest, just not enough bees in there. I just didn't have the bees to be able to manage. And it's just because I think they're dying off too soon, and it affected the age structure within the nests. So what I did was I went through, and anything that was obviously dead was out, of course, but the ones that I figured I could shore up, I gave them a frame of brood, a frame of brood with lots of bees on it, just hanging bees. And I dropped it into the middle of those nests, and I come back, I think it was about 2.5 weeks after, to see how the colonies responded to that. And they had all these new young bees hanging on the frame and emerging. So that queen, if she's going to do anything, she's going to be able to do it with those bees. And if they didn't, then we either we sent them into the nuke, like we salvaged those bees into a nuke or whatever with the queen cell. If they responded, then we gave them a second one that brought them into a capable colony. Yeah, with the help of some treatments, of course. But it's not an easy situation to manage. Like managing sick bees, it's a terrible thing. I don't want to ever manage a year like this one again. I had a 5% loss coming out of the shed. That's end of March. I had, what was it? By the end of May, the end of April, I had like 15% loss. The end of May, I had like a 25 to 35% loss. It was within 3 weeks. I was looking at my colonies thinking I don't have enough boxes. 3 weeks after, I'm buying packages from overseas. It was just absolutely ridiculous. It hit me so hard. I think Brad's seen exactly. I think we're a mirror image. We're talking
Almost
to each other.
exactly the same thing. Yeah, I was 15% or so out of the barn early April, and by the end of May, I was 75% loss.
I took my losses
brutal
right to the end of June. I ended up being 55% loss end of June, but I did a lot of work to keep those colonies going until that time.
Hey, Bob, what you can do is take those colonies, put them over on a rack on the side, and call them zombies.
Call them zombies. They can work for you.
And then you start stealing from them. Then they get pissed off, and they a lot of them straighten up and act right.
Yeah. They start fearing for their life. It's like, we better shape up, or the big guy's going to throw us out.
Mean streets. Send them over to the mean streets.
That's right. The zombies really, really performed this year. I'll tell you, that was probably the best times I had almost. But I think that's a really good point to make, that, Bob was making, a DC in the comments was making, that, to throw good resources after bad colonies, that's not good beekeeping. It's you got to figure out why that colony is behind. And it's all about momentum, I think. That you've got to have bees to make bees, and a colony is no different. If they don't have as many bees as the other colony, then they're not going to grow as fast. So that's what you're equalizing. You're equalizing their ability to do what they want to do anyway, not trying to always supplement a colony that ain't no good in the first place.
So Brad, I just want to point out the comment I made where those things got called zombies if you had followed my advice, we wouldn't have had all this fun this summer. Because my comment was, take those zombies and combine them into functional colonies, but you didn't do that. You did, you stuck with your plan, but we had a lot of fun watching you with those things.
I did. I had a lot of fun with those because those zombies produced so well for me that they they produced 100% of the brood I needed for my splits and my cell builder.
Yeah.
And my nukes, and I got 108 nukes.
Yeah.
Out of the
if you had listened to anything on that comment besides the name, that you would have missed all of that.
Well, thanks, Phil. It's not all bad advice.
That's right.
No, I've been using that method for, I don't know, 3-4 years now. And some years it works better than others. Actually, the good years, it doesn't work as well because you don't have as many colonies that you put in the zombie category.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to start doing, Alex made the comment a while back. He said, hey, that's just what Michael Palmer does with his resource nukes. And I'm thinking, that really kind of is. It's different, but it is. And I'm thinking, geez, wouldn't it be nice to raise some resource nukes for that purpose? Just get those queens laying and just keep robbing that resource out of them for the good of the apiary constantly all summer. It works great. I love doing it.
Yeah, he does. If you've listened to some of his interviews and things, he doesn't knock them down to where he can't. He still takes those through winter. He doesn't.
Oh, sure.
He doesn't knock them down. He's not as ruthless as you are.
Well, yeah, and that's the difference in the method, because my zombies are what they are because they're no good, or at least they have a problem.
Yeah.
Usually they're just old.
And he'll also tell you that if he doesn't knock them down, they're not going to stay in those boxes because he has them in those 5-frame towers.
Yeah.
Well, I like the advice that you gave, Brad, where you took those queens that were a little on the borderline or they're old queens, and instead of dispatching them, you put them in them zombie hives, and then you put that new queen in and she took off, and then you got the old queen, but you're still getting something out of that queen, as like you say, the resources, and until she finally fizzles out.
And the cost is the equipment, right? And if I had to go and buy equipment or whatever for this, I might think twice. But you know what? This stuff's sitting in a pile. It sits in a pile over here on the side of the apiary on a skid. It's sitting there. It's empty. Well, why not put something in it, right? It's there. I'll stick it on a pallet in the corner. I'll put a frame of brood with a queen, some frames of drawn comb, and say, you know what? If you do something, great. If you don't, I don't care. You just sit there, do what you can do. You've got zero investment.
So that was actually my failure this year, was dragging those queens out too long instead of taking them out and putting new ones in their replacement. So once I dragged them out too long, then I had the failures, and then of course the vermin take over, the wax moth and everything end up taking over when she becomes 2 weeks to be able to handle.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a point where you've waited too long. You need to, it really depends on what your plan is. And if your plan is then to requeen that, definitely don't wait too long, because you've got a pinnacle of resource there, and all you need to do is flip that queen, and then you've got another couple of years in that unit. If you just wait 3 weeks too long, then you've got nothing. You've got nothing but some drawn comb that's all kind of messy.
That's why it wasn't a spring. I mean, she was laying slabs of brood, but then petered out right in the middle of the.
Yeah, and I've had them do that too. There was some of the zombies, and you may have noticed in the videos, the zombie hives, the zombie nuke boxes got thinner and thinner as time went on. They just kept dropping off, and there'd be more drop off at the beginning, and then there'd be some drop off here and there, and once in a while one would start, just run out of ammunition, and she'd start laying drones, or she'd die and I wouldn't catch it, and there'd be laying workers or something like that. So there's all kinds of stuff go on there, because these are just old queens that are not really that good. But I want to get every egg I can out of those old girls.
It was a hard lesson, and a lesson well learned.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good advice. I try to tell new people that too. Like, don't wait. don't wait, because you've got some fantastic resource there. So don't wait. Just make sure you get that flipped over, make that new queen, and it's vital to know how to make your own queens so that you can do that too.
So
It ain't hard. The bees love to do it. So Brian's nodding his head. You know how easy it is to make those queens, right? Especially if you're only making a couple. Boy, bees love to do that.
No name again.
No audio again, Brian.
Yeah. You know, it's like I've never done this before.
There we go.
step away from the Kraken,
Yeah.
Brian. Step
We'll
away.
have a
from the
workshop.
Kraken.
No. I've got like I don't even know what the heck size.
That hotel water, you know.
No, this is
Ate a pound of chocolate
Trader
ice cream.
Joe's water. No, those rascals. I mean, I just went through and tried to requeen some, and I screwed 2 up. And in the in the one, if it wasn't this late in the year, I might have tinkered with some other splits. But the one colony they had I found like 15 cells in it, and I was just like, oh my god. So, but yeah, they definitely know how to make them.
At least you didn't kill 20 of those ace queens like somebody else in the game.
Yeah, I bought $1,100 in queens, and probably 4 of them took.
What?
26 of them died in the
Shipment.
bank, and
What?
the other, yeah.
Oh my!
So, well, something goofy went on
Good
there.
job, Bob. Good job. Way to go.
Probably a trans.
Oh.
Selling dehydrated queens for next season, though, Ian, if you need some. Just add water.
No, well, all you got to do is
Half
you soak
price.
them.
I'll take
You soak 'em in
550
Tim
bucks
Hortons.
for the lot.
Tim
That's pretty
Hortons.
low. That's pretty low.
Little
Talking
Timmy's?
about water in the email.
If you put a little Apis Biologic in some Tim Hortons, they perk right back up.
That's it. That's it. So, hey, Ian, Carl asked, do you cycle your queens out every year, or do you move on if productivity is there?
Yeah, I'll make a presentation on that. This year, I went out of my norm because I didn't do a lot of queen rearing just because of the health issues I had with my colony. So I bought a lot of stock in just to try to freshen things up. I was afraid that if I went through a bad year and I didn't do something to freshen the queens up, because I typically do it with the nukes I bring in, if I didn't freshen the queens up, then the following year I'd be plagued with this apiary of old queens, and just problems lead to that. I used to replace my queens every year, but then I found myself cursing import queens, and I was doing that this year. It's like these bloody queens. I'm not going to mention any suppliers' names, but I had one supplier of queens 10% drone layers when they hit my hives. It's like, what the hell's with that? And it's just reminding me why I've gone into breeding my own queens. So what I do is in a way, I do refresh a lot of my stock, but I do it over like a 2-year cycle. I make my nukes with my queens. I build my nukes through the summer, manage the workload with the boxes on top, get them through winter, and they get cycled back into my colonies as production queens or production colonies the following year. And it's just a continual cycle like that. These last 3 years kind of knocked me off balance here, and I kind of got off because I used up all my nukes and I couldn't rebuild my nukes for the winter, and then I fell into another bad spring, so I had no nukes to back up on. I'm going to get back into that coming on this year, but also I'm finding that a lot of my colonies switch out the queens. Like, I don't want to be too bold, but I'd say up to 50% of my colonies naturally just replace their queens, and I don't even know what's going on. I'd seen it because I was down in the nests more often this year, and I just allowed them to do it. But those are terrific little queens when they make them themselves. I mean, I don't think you can get a better queen than the ones they rear themselves. And they replace them without you even knowing they've been switched over. I don't paint them. I know a lot of guys do paint, so I don't know exactly what's going on down there. So I found I was buying all these import queens, and I'd get terrific batches. I got to be careful like this because I don't want to slag queen breeders. They do a great job. You talk to those guys, they'll walk circles around me, but there's a disconnect between their apiary transportation and my beehive, and I think it's the logistic part of it. I think they're being compromised in there somewhere. Something's happening, it's not working, so that's why I shifted off onto that.
I think with mine, they send the boxes with the vents on both sides, right? And when they get in that UPS or FedEx truck or whatever, I don't think those guys care how that box is, whether they got ventilation in there or what, right?
Well, those buggers, they sent a bunch of Italian packages over, and I think it was in Toronto. They, I don't know, loading out of, I forget where it happened, but the guys who were supposed to be following these SOPs didn't, and they stuck these like pallets of packages in the corner, so there was no airflow, and the whole bloody load cooked. So we have all these conditions that need to be maintained being handled by idiots, and that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So I try to make simply. You have a problem, you simplify it. So to simplify it, you do it yourself in a lot of ways. That's where the queen rearing comes in.
I just got 4 big boxes of glass honey jars, and every one of them had a big red label that said fragile this side up, and I found it on the side and on the bottom, everywhere but the top.
Well, you saw the last packages I got from Man Lake of migratory covers and stuff that looked like they just kicked them out of the back of the truck in my driveway, and part of them were broken on arrival. How do you break a damn migratory cover? I mean,
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Hey,
y'all, I'm gonna jump off here. I got to get my clothes ironed up. That way, I look all professional when I go to work and stuff. So,
they don't watch your streams, evidently.
Hey, Brian, I got one question before you leave.
Huh.
Who feeds the birds while you're gone?
My wife does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I actually today before I left, she went to the beach with one of her friends for the day. And
There's a beach in Ohio?
Well, Lake Erie. Up off of Lake Erie, they got some. So she's originally from Cleveland, so she knows like all the beaches to go to. So she went up there, and I was like, I'm not interested in going up to Lake Erie. So I stayed at home, and just I went over and checked some things with the bees. But yeah, we have a system set up where it takes like not even 10 minutes to take care of those 3 cages of birds.
Okay.
It's 2 scoops of food in this, food dispenser thing I have. Top off their water, and the eggs are actually on rollout. So just lift up those lids and collect the eggs, and it's easy. It's super easy.
Cool.
So, yeah, but you all take care. I'll be listening in the background as I'm ironing and stuff. So
Nice to see you, Brian.
yeah, good to see you guys too.
All right.
So
Have a good week.
Yeah.
keep the chat going at least another 45 minutes or so, because then I'll have something to listen to
Right
while
on.
I'm sitting here
No problem.
ironing shirts and stuff.
We don't have a limit on our stream.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Charlie.
Not one product placement either.
Hey, now look at this.
Do you have your Hive Alive over there so you can pop that up for us real quick?
Now that you're a dedicated beekeeper, that when you travel to the hotel,
You bring your Hive Alive with you.
I brought bottles so that I can sit here, and I
Oh.
got honey with my bee blanket on it.
Did you really?
No.
You brought honey
I
with
did
you?
because I'm doing a flea market next weekend, and I've been selling. I put signs in the yard, and I've been
Yes,
selling
friends,
honey
we have
out the
Hive
door.
Brian,
Charlie's being smart.
I'm going to make some Snickers creamed honey.
Jesus, you guys are asses.
So,
And,
hey, Brian, a word of
and
advice.
creamed honey.
Yeah, a word of advice, Brian. If you hear
Yeah.
us starting to wrap up, you might want to jump back on, because we do go into the green room after sometimes.
Oh well, that's
You just
true.
ruined it
Yeah.
for everybody. Now
Some-
we have 97 people in the background.
And and sometimes there's different voices. It's
Right.
Sometimes
Yeah.
there's different voices.
Yeah.
Whatever
All right,
you
you all.
mean.
The only reason I hang around anymore.
I'm gonna sit here with my honey warming. I got the do not disturb sign on the door. The girls would probably walk in here and be like, "What in the heck does this guy got in these buckets? And what are?" So
I got my honey in a pail. Go away.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious how it's going to look when you drip that all over the hotel floor.
Carpet, yeah.
No, because I'll probably do it on the counter over there, because this room has a little kitchen. So yeah, I'll do it over there, and I just need to get another 50 or 100 bottled. That way, I have enough. So, but yeah,
Get your work cut out.
Well, you know, put
Oh,
that
well.
bottling tank in. And you can do that in 15 minutes.
Brian
Well,
rolling
Charlie,
in with
that's
an
my-
18-gallon bottling tank with the water jacketed, and
that's my next purchase, $900. So, and I told my wife that I'm not taking any more money just out of the house. That it's got to be bee money. So I have in the one drawer in the kitchen where I've been selling stuff. I've got
Is that where the money's at?
$500 now from honey money. So I'm almost
She's
there.
already spent it though.
No, she doesn't touch it. No, she don't mess with it. So, but yeah, I'm almost there. So as soon as I get close to that, but see, I'm gonna wait until the conference anyways. I'm hoping that Hilco at least gives 10 or 15% on that 18-gallon, and that's what I'm gonna buy.
why don't
So
you just cut out the middleman and order it directly from China now?
Oh, snap.
Wrong.
I mean,
oh my god. On that note, before I laugh too hard, I'll be listening.
hey, you can just do like me, man. I just hide my honey money under the dish soap, and it'll never be touched by my wife.
Yeah, never find it.
I don't want to keep you
You're
from
coming here and
ironing.
beat the hell out of me in a minute. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh my god.
I don't want to keep you from your ironing, Brian, but I'm at that same point where I need something else. But are you having any trouble with crystallization?
I am, yeah.
How do you handle that? Because that tank's not going to handle that, right?
That's why I have that bee blanket on that bucket.
Okay. So you get it, and then you put it in the
It'll but now that bee blanket on that bucket, it takes, like, I put it on today, like now, and then tomorrow when I get back from work, that bucket will be perfect.
Really?
So
I gotta get one of those.
that's why I want to
I'm not even having any trouble with it. I'm just anticipating that.
Every single one of every one of my buckets from my spring harvest is all crystallized already.
Wow. No, I don't. I hadn't had that issue.
Yeah.
Brian,
I had that issue with
Isn't that-
fall honey last year, but I hadn't had any issue with my spring honey. Matter
Yeah.
of fact, I've got spring honey from last year that has like a 1/8 crystallization in the bottom of the jars. It's very little.
Yeah. All of
about
mine
that
did.
bee
There
blanket.
you go. Honeybee Compounds helping you out there, Brian. Alibaba sale day, September 23rd.
Alibaba. I've never ordered from them. It scares me a little bit. I know all my stuff comes from China anyway. I've never gone straight to the source.
Mine comes from Poland.
Yeah. Oh well.
So-
I'll be listening.
All right, Brian.
Get the ironing board set up and make myself look presentable. So
Yeah.
I'll talk to you all.
All right, Brian. Have a good one.
Brian.
Take it easy.
Jokes. We got them. Too much fun. Too much fun. Hey, Brian, while you're listening, where's my $20 super chat?
Oh, come on.
Remember Beetle Lighthouse?
God almighty. He's never going to watch another stream. Just kidding.
I like Brian. He's a good hand.
So you drinking the Fresca tonight?
Got the Fresca and the
Tang-
the
In the pine
enhancement.
sol. That's what.
Fresca enhancement.
You said, shut up.
What? Oh goodness! Shut up! Way to go, Brian. You're the greatest.
I just poke fun at him. He knows that Brian's great. All right, I'll send it back to you on your stream. Save one of them other guys from circling their $20 back. What?
Oh, I stepped away and missed that. Yeah, that's Bob. I think that was panhandling we just witnessed.
Hey, you're changing my game.
Yeah,
As many hours as I put in for as little as it makes me on YouTube. And then the worst part about it, if I decide to not go live, if I decide that I'm taking a Saturday night off to watch football, I get blasted with text and emails and phone calls. You going live tonight? What
know
time you
better.
going live tonight? Might be going live later, possibly. You know,
should
maybe.
better. You should know.
Yeah.
better.
That's
So-
funny because I
I
think
said
the
it's not a matter. I said it's not a matter of if, but when.
Right. That's
you're
it.
right about that.
Yeah, see, DC says it. We bitch at him. We bitch at him if he we don't have nothing to do tonight. Hey, I'll gladly watch somebody else's stream if they want to pop in.
I literally,
It was close. I was almost gonna.
yeah.
It was
Look at
close.
that. There, there.
Look,
Rolling in now.
we got it
Ryan.
flowing now.
See how it works? See how it works? Charlie, every stream
Make it
you send me
rain.
$20 and I'll send you $20 back on your
Make
stream.
it rain.
And then it just works out.
Get going here.
So
Speaking of donations, though, the books that I did on your stream should be here Tuesday, Tim. And one of the guys that stopped to buy honey the other day is a school teacher for, believe it or not, special needs kids in the local school district. So I told him to get with his principal and I would donate him some books for the kids. So
Awesome. I appreciate everybody jumping in and doing that evening for Justin, man. I know he's very grateful for it.
yeah, he's shipping those books soon. He sent me an email.
yeah, you got it too.
Yeah,
Mine are supposed to be here tomorrow, actually. Tuesday.
I bought enough to cover the schools here in my community, and I've got to get. I got to figure out how to get with them to get it approved. I don't know how you do that, but there's like it's.
Well, I don't know. It's not woke, so it may not make it into the school district. I'm just saying.
It might not. But yeah, there's a lot of schools here. There's I think 12 schools, 12 elementary
We
schools.
might have to send it back to the editor, and it can't be a she be or a he be. It's got to be a we or they be and before they'll take it.
Careful, you're getting into the after hours discussion.
Oh yeah, we got it. That's after hours. Sorry,
Don't,
guys.
don't
Sorry.
waste your don't waste
Okay,
your
let's stream
content
over.
now.
Good night, everybody.
Get back on, Brian, quick.
Yeah, that's the after hours talk going in a little bit early. Sorry, I forgot. I started 2 hours and a half ago, so it'd be about that time. But
Man.
but yeah, that's the crazy stuff that you can get if you're a member. Super chats allow you to come into that stream.
Yeah, you got to pay your way in.
This kid,
Well,
just kidding.
The
It's
VIP
been
room.
fun.
Gotta get into the VIP room.
Lifetime members. VIP. Now up on the pole, it's Brad on the VIP stage.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Yes, sir, Mr. Burns.
Oh my gosh. Maybe it is about that time. Maybe it's time to. We've never had Ian in the VIP room. Where there's live
yeah,
He
dancing.
does not know the
Coming your
level
way
of
next.
abuse.
Yeah,
That
we've
is,
had him in the VIP room.
potential.
a lot of times.
No, I
I
don't
got-
think he always ducks out early. So we have
I
to
got a
end the
feeling-
stream early so he gets to feel the pain like
I've
everybody
got a
else.
feeling Ian has heard all of Brad's voices, but I don't know that for sure.
Not likely.
Not likely. Oh man, you're in for a treat, Ian.
No, Brad and I are usually just messenger. Just
Oh, okay. Just texting.
With $20, Bob will perform a lap dance. That's right. But it's got to be 20 US, not this 20 Canadian stuff. That's $15.
You got to charge a tariff on that one.
Well, hey guys, before we do end and go to the VIP, tomorrow night is our actual live stream night.
Oh, we're gonna do live stream tomorrow night.
We got a live stream tomorrow
That's
night.
awesome! I can't wait.
We don't do them that often.
He's still got to get everything hooked back up.
Lee's got to hook everything back up. He's been building that desk for his special guest this week, Mr.
It's like
Ed.
tonight, I'm finally moving my computer to the
Oh,
new
that's
desk. He's got to
right.
get
Mr.
everything
Ed and
hooked
Mike
back up.
Berry are going to be there this weekend. So we got that going on. Then Friday night we got Charlie, and then probably the other 3 nights of the week, or there'll be Bob at some point. So
So-
Let's keep rolling in the dough then.
yeah, I know it'll yeah. You know, if you guys saw my studio, you guys would laugh. It is laughable as far as the funds from YouTube. So don't, if you think you're going to be YouTube famous, I hope you are, but just be prepared. Your brown starfish will pucker when
I'll
you look at
second
it.
that. I'll second that, man. You got to spend the time.
All right, guys. Well, y'all have a good evening. We're going to end the live stream right now, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night on either mine or Lee's channel. I don't remember which one it's on.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.